Hello, dear viewers. Thank you for choosing Manhwa Compilation Channel. Please leave your feedback after watching. Enjoy watching. A huge, tall building stretched out in front of us, which was enveloped in bright blue lightning. This was a demonic palace. Some people ran out from there. There was a small group of them, and they ran forward in fear. One guy asked the others to hurry up because they were about to be killed. The second replied that he could not believe that for them, demons, everything would end like this. Hundreds of years ago, their demons caused wind and rain and were the only creatures, and now they are running with their tail between their legs. If it weren't for the old demon emperor who trained this scum 100,000 years ago, things would be different now. The great demon emperor was almost defeated by the human race. What a shame this is. The guy became very sad thinking about it. He sighed heavily, remembering everything from the very beginning. The first demon emperor who fought with people. He stood with his eyes closed, arms outstretched to the sides as if meditating. The guy did not expect that two demonic emperors with incredible power would lose to mortals. The most annoying thing is that after the new demon emperor was defeated, he suddenly disappeared. The highest secret book of their demon race, the sacred demonic star, alas, it has disappeared. Because of her, their demon race could not create a demon emperor for 100,000 years. For 100,000 years, the human race has become stronger, but they are getting weaker and weaker. They almost no longer had the strength to fight humanity. The guy exclaimed that this was a disaster. He doesn't want to face the enemy, he just wants to escape from here. And he asked Emma to run away with him if she didn't want to die with the others. To which the girl replied to the guy that demons should not abandon their own. She was very concerned about the behavior of the guy and the others. The second guy asked her to let them go, because 10 sects of the human race surrounded and presented him with the hall of the demon emperor. They cannot win this battle, so why drag those guys to the grave with you? A girl named Emma and several other men stood next to her. They watched as everyone else simply ran away, leaving their demo room. Then 3 men appeared in the rays of heavenly light. Some unusual radiance emanated from them. Bright blue rays pierced everything around. The girl realized that this was the Emperor of the Great Sun, the Master of the Blade, and the Lord of the Sword. They have already arrived. She raised her head, looking at the heavens, where the children of the men stood there, or rather, they soared like birds. They were very powerful and very majestic in appearance. The first of them was the Great Sun Emperor, the second was the Lord of the Sword, and the third one standing behind them was a Blade Master. The Sun Emperor spoke to the demons. He asked to listen to him because he didn't want to kill anyone. On the contrary, he will be merciful to them. If they obediently handed over the Demon Emperor's book to him and promised to leave the land of primordial chaos, he would allow him to leave unharmed. To which the girl exclaimed that this was a blatant lie. Does he think that they will believe him? Why on earth should they leave the demonic palace? Even though they are demons, they never do evil and act honestly. In contrast, their benevolence and morality are nothing more than a way to steal the Demon Emperor's book. Then the Master of the Blade turned to his master. He asked why they should negotiate with monsters if they don't believe them and want to listen. He proposed to kill everyone except a couple of leaders. From them, they will learn everything they need. Then the gentleman agreed with this proposal. The rest unanimously supported him. And the girl, Emma, said that she would rather die than give up. She was very determined and had no intention of giving up. Then the rest of the warriors who stood behind the girl began to take out their weapons. They were preparing to meet the enemy. And these 3 men, the Sun Emperor and the others, said that they were just ignorant demons, and they stood there doing nothing. The Lord of the Sword watched them from the side. He pulled out his bladed weapon and thought that it had been a long time since he let off his steam. He was also preparing to repel the attack. The man decided to start by taking his sword more firmly into his hands. Before we start this fight, each of the men who were in the sky was preparing for an attack. They shone in different colors. Green-blue rays emanated from them. They were not at all afraid of this battle. And the girl, looking up into the heavens at these 3 armed strongest men, was ready to fight with opponents and defend her life and the lives of her people as much as she could. She thought that it was all over, her clan had come to an end, and you will have to say goodbye to your life and to the clan of demons. She thought how much she hates everything, and how everything irritates her. If there is still an emperor in the demon clan, then why does he allow people to bully them? And the danger came closer and closer to them. They stood in a fighting stance, proudly looking up. They did not let go of their swords, preparing to fight to the end, never to give up. The Sword Lord noticed that his cultivation base had improved significantly. He was very happy about these changes. The Blade Master said that it seemed to him that that man had reached the peak of the realm of saints, just one step, and he would be able to enter the realm of the gods. He grabbed his chin, thinking deeply about it. Then the Lord of the Sword asked how difficult the kingdom of God is. Do they really think that the Emperor, immersed in the kingdom of saints, has not been able to break through higher for many years? For some reason, the Sun Emperor laughed. He folded his hands in front of him, smiling calmly. Meanwhile, the building where the demons were gathering began to shine with some unusual light. Some sound was heard there. These three men heard him. The Sun Emperor asked the others if they heard anything inside. Everyone immediately became wary. This sound was heard not only by the three men, but also by the rest of the demons who were on the platform in front of the huge building of the great demons. The girl clenched her fists and closed her eyes. She was very sad and thought that she was having auditory hallucinations, because she also heard some sound coming from inside the building. Now some bright yellow rays pierced the roof of the room. It was something incomprehensible, something completely unusual. Then the Lord of the Sun exclaimed to his people to be careful, and he asked them to protect their bodies. And with folded hands, one began to apply the force of protecting the body. A bright yellow ray from the sky pierced the ground, touching the asphalt right in front of the building. Everything around was illuminated by an explosion and as if by fire. No one could understand what was happening. Three men raised their weapons upward as if to shield themselves from this bright yellow light, and the Sun Emperor continued to raise his hands up as if meditating. Where the yellow stream of light visited, some kind of hole formed. The energy of the sun was so strong. The building continued to glow with a bright yellow light. And through the broken asphalt, a hand appeared. It was a human hand that was bursting out from under the ground. Some guy appeared. He was in the red haze of a bright glow. He was very serious and stern in appearance. He radiated some kind of justice and strength. Seeing the man, the girl exclaimed, turning to the guy. She said she really couldn't help it. The days of retreat are too painful. Studying is bad, and also this book of the Demon Emperor only helps up to a certain level, and beyond that, it is very difficult to cultivate. To which the guy came a little closer and asked the people around, shouldn't he be in the secret room? And looking at them with all severity, this boy who arrived from nowhere immediately asked what was happening here. He glanced upward towards three men who had flown from heaven. He wondered what had happened here to make these people so scared. The Sun Emperor thought he was surprised where such strength and power came from. Drops of sweat were running down his face, and his beard was wet from the feeling of such great power that emanated from this guy. The master of the ball was also wary. His look immediately changed. He stopped being so confident in himself, as if he began to worry after the demon teacher appeared. And the Blade Master in turn thought where the demon clan got such terrifying power. After all, he considered himself an ant in comparison with such great power. He realized, bowing his head and thinking even more strongly and deeply that the situation was out of control. Now everything was definitely not on their side. A girl named Emma turned to a guy who arrived out of nowhere. She asked who he was and where he came from. She asked why he appeared from underground in the hall of their demon emperor. She opened her big eyes, trying to hear some answer from the guy. The boy immediately asked how they didn't recognize their demon emperor. He again looked sternly at the people standing in front of him. He said that they invaded here without an invitation. He seemed to be preparing for an attack and was very serious. The guy came very close to a bunch of demons. They, in turn, stood on guard and thought about using weapons or running away. But others of them realized that they needed to leave quickly. We need to run away from here because this guy's power is too great. And the main demons, together with the girl Emma, didn't even move, but they fell on their knees as they were enveloped in the relics of this guy. They asked where their demon emperor was. But the guy couldn't understand what was going on. Why are they ignoring him, as if they don't understand that he is the demon emperor? He became even more serious, deep in thought. He couldn't understand what was going on. He was the Demon Emperor. Why aren't they throwing him a welcome back party? Then something like a bell rang out. The system notified that the owner had been found, compliant with the standard of the magic cultivation system. The download begins. The guy heard it all as if in his head. He thought that this was happening. It was as if some kind of force enveloped him. After which some kind of table appeared in front of him. It was like a system. It seemed to be loading, and the countdown began from 0 to 100, after which the system notified that the download was complete. A girl suddenly appeared in front of him in the guise of this system. She said that she had come across a rather nice owner. She was very unusual, like a fairy with wings. The boy was very surprised and looked at her with a stern, serious look. He asked who she was, to which the girl asked him to shut up. She asked not to interrupt him, and she said that she would introduce him to the main panel. She hoped that he was not too weak, because this system was extremely effective. I wouldn't want it to fall into the hands of a loser. She began to list the supreme invincible power, the super wastefulness subsystem, the invincible cultivation system. The girl explained that if he loses using all 3 of these systems, her reputation will suffer. The guy's brains began to boil. He really strained his head and wondered what was going on here. What the hell was going on here? The girl said his name, pressing her hands to her chest. She thought that Liam was a good name. It sounded just like the name of the main character. Name Liam, 100,000 years old. The cultivation method of system failure is impossible to show the result. The combat power is too strong. System failure, information needs to be updated. The girl thought it was 100,000 years old. Wow. The cultivation method of system failure is impossible to show the result. Too strong, try updating the information. The guy looked at the system screen, and I noticed how the girl began to get angry and changed her face. It was as if she didn't know whether to be nervous or cry. Some kind of annoyance and incomprehensible emotions were visible on her face. She held the phone in her hand and began to talk to someone. She was asked how things were going with her, and has she found her owner? The girl began to get angrier and angrier. She definitely had no time for tears. After all, anger overwhelmed her completely. She started shouting into the phone what was going on. Didn't he say that as a newcomer? She has a protection period? She came across some old bastard, to which the point is already 100,000 years old, and its level is far superior to it. What should she do with him now? And asked him to read information about him. Why did she get a 100,000-year-old demon emperor as a host? Meanwhile, we have another picture before us. A man is sitting on a chair and a woman is giving him a temple massage. Another woman massages his knees. The man thought that for the sake of decency, it was necessary to at least look at him. He was holding a phone in his hands and drinking some kind of drink. The man already spilled this liquid, throwing it out of his mouth. He exclaimed how a newcomer could come across such a carrier. He took his beard with his hand and thought deeply. Maybe it's an accident. He didn't let go of the phone. The girl became even more nervous. She exclaimed, what should they do now? What should they do? From her anger, she seemed to be wrapped up in fire. And the man continued to hold the phone in his hands and think. He was quite calm and unperturbed. After which I asked the girl if she was even here. And he said that there was some kind of bad connection and explained to the girl that he would call her back later. She, of course, began to be indignant and scream even more angry. But the man specifically said that the connection was bad so as not to listen to her indignation. And then there was a beep on her phone. These were short beeps, so the girl realized that she was simply left to deal with this guy herself. She exclaimed that she was not finished with him yet, even if he turned her off by hanging up. She took off and came closer to the boy, after which I completely calmed down. And folding her hands in front of her, she turned to her older brother. Her eyes shone in a completely different way. They were full of curiosity. She asked the boy if he wanted to talk about anything. She flew very close to him with her small wings flapping. And the boy, in turn, also began to get more and more nervous. He asked the girl who she was after all. She would have wanted to explain, but then she hesitated sharply. She asked me to wait a minute. She explained that she would now send him all the information. And then the loading of many different numbers and some letters began. The guy saw a sign in front of him like a diagram. He thought that this was not bad at all. He didn't even know that there were such technologies in this world. This is the path to improvement. This is something new and very interesting. Hearing this, the girl smiled. Her eyes shone. She asked the older brother something else, and I asked what they would do. Then the boy thought about something and, not knowing what to answer, asked the girl to offer it to her. He wanted to hear her options and suggestions. In this case, the girl suggested completing a task for beginners. You have to start somewhere. The boy looked at her with a contemptuous look and asked if she really wanted him, the demon emperor, to complete the task with her for beginners. Then the girl thought when she saw the guy put his hand on his head and asked him to forget what he said. Let her just tell you what needs to be done. And so she opened the system, reading out the task for the beginner. The name is to get rid of strong representatives of the human race. The requirement to defeat 3 men. Completion time, he must cope with everything until all 3 incense sticks burn out. The boy listened carefully to what the girl was saying. He asked only one of the 3 men, to whom the girl says, "These are the ones in the sky." Well, the girl seemed shy and answered him that, of course, yes, dear. She blushed a little and closed her eyes. She asked, so she began to fly away, giving him the opportunity to deal with his task himself. And the boy, looking at the heavens towards the 3 men, asked if they could come down. He asked them to figure it out quickly since he had very little time. 3 men stood waiting, wondering what to do. Everyone had wet faces from worry and thoughts about what to do right. The Sun Emperor changed his face and turned to his assistants with a shout of running. The Blade Master said that he would go first, and the Sun Emperor was surprised at how great his speed was. They both looked after the guy. The Demon Emperor, in turn, waited for one of the 3 men to approach him. He was already looking at the sky in anticipation of their arrival, waiting for a meeting with his opponents. The girl asked her brother what she should do if they ran away. After all, in this case, she will not be able to complete the task. What should she do? She grabbed her face with her hands and was very panicked. The boy asked her to just shut up. After all, she prevented him from completing his tasks. The men had not even tried to approach him yet. The guy in turn closed his eyes and began to think. It was as if he was meditating. And the girl was next to his shoulder because she was very small with blue transparent wings on her shoulders. Meanwhile, the men began to laugh. The Sword Lord said that no matter how strong this guy was, with their speed, there was no way he could catch up with them, so they probably wanted to run away. And the boy, closing his eyes, raised his hand up. He made some movement with 2 fingers, as if performing some kind of technique. And now he was already standing next to 3 men. He was ready to fight with them, testing his new strength and wishing to improve more and more. The guy who stood next to Emma turned to her, asking who this elder was. After all, they themselves did not know him. To which she replied that she did not know. But he is not an enemy of their Demon Emperor Hall. They stood nearby, watching everything, smiling sweetly. The boy came as close as possible to the 3 men and asked them to do him a favor. They looked at the guy with angry and serious looks. And the guy continued to tell them that he would only crack them a couple of times, and when he was done, then he would let them go. And he asked how this option suits them or not. At which the Lord of the Sword became very angry. He said if the guy wants to kill, then let him kill. But why humiliate them? He said that this time he lost, because the Sword Lord felt that he was much weaker than this guy. He closed his eyes, admitting his weakness. And the Master of the Blade laughed. He said that his cultivation base was simply shocking. They have been waiting for a worthy opponent for a long time. The Sun Emperor also replied that this was quite good. They all smiled as if they were not planning to fight the enemy. But the Lord of the Sword began to insult the boy. Then the guy asked if he had humiliated him so much that he wanted to die. Won't he resist? To which the man replied that he had insulted him again, and he would most likely die than endure such humiliation. The Lord of the Ball grabbed his weapon tighter and, gritting his teeth, decided to attack his opponent. He jumped as high as possible, and the sword in his hands glowed green. It was as if green fire was burning around him. Tongues of flame enveloped the guy and his melee weapon. The Demon Emperor, meanwhile, thought that the Demon Emperor's book would automatically form a protective barrier that would protect him, restore his strength, and increase it. To achieve the best effect, he must draw out this fight. He shouldn't kill him right away. Just try to start with the 50th power level. This is what the boy decided to do and began to wait for the enemy to approach and let him come closer to him. But while waiting, The boy destroyed the asphalt with his strength, as if he had walked over it with some kind of heavy equipment. It was an incredible sight that showed his great strength. The Lord of the Sword immediately froze as if rooted to the spot. Streams of sweat were running down his face and some liquid was leaking from his nose. He opened his mouth, very frightened. Then the boy thought that it seemed that the 50th level of human and demonic powers was too different. He should have thought about this sooner. It seems he scared him. Maybe it's worth cheering him up after all. The boy turned to the Lord of the Sword. He admitted that the guy was really strong, but if he exerts a little more force, he is afraid he will not be able to withstand him. Here, in turn, the Blade Master fell to his knees in front of the boy. He asked him to let him go. He has an 80-year-old mother and a 3-year-old son. He cannot just die here, leaving his family. And the Sun Emperor was very surprised that the boy didn't even try. The Blade Master was afraid and did not attack his opponent, the Demon Emperor. The boy thought about it and asked the Blade Master that his mother was more than 80 years old. He grinned somehow maliciously. Then the Sun Emperor said, well, although he is a monk, he has a 3-year-old daughter. The monk won't lie. Let him believe him. The demon Emma thought about it and said that the human race is so vile. After all, they continued to observe everything from the side. The boy put his hand to his face. He just didn't expect them to give up so easily, that they scared him so quickly and were ready to run away and beg for mercy, just not fight. Then the boy said that he would give them a chance. They can use their powers to the maximum and he will not resist. So do they agree about this? The man continued to stand in front of him, thoughtful. They thought for a long time. No one said a word in response yet. Then the boy said that he could swear to them that they could beat him as they wanted, and he would not resist. And once the time is up, they can leave whenever they want. And I asked if they agreed to this option. The Sun Emperor asked if it was true that the boy decided so and offered them this option, to which Liam replied that of course it was true. The Sun Emperor looked at his brothers. They seemed to be deciding what to do. After all, this was some kind of chance for them to test their strength and not seem like weaklings. The Lord of the Sword answered first. He said that since the guy says so, let him get what he deserves. He was the first who happily wanted to beat his opponent. And so the three of them rose as high as possible in the air. They each directed their power towards the boy, and rays of different colors emanated from them. A yellow, green, blue stream of rays was approaching a guy named Liam. But the boy stood calmly, not even moving from their power. There were simply clouds of white smoke and thick dust all around him. He thought maybe he should play along with them a little. Then the boy said what incredible power they have. He doesn't even know if he can hold his own against them all. I even put my hand on my chest, trying to show all my seriousness and the truth of my words. Meanwhile, the girl Emma thought about how incredible she was. What incredible strength, because she has never seen such bad acting as this guy's. The Sun Emperor turned to his brothers. He invited them to use their trump card. And so they again took a fighting stance. They spread their arms wide. They grabbed their weapons and began to approach the boy to strike. Yellow flames glowed around the three men. They were very serious, and from the outside they looked very intimidating. The Blade Master was already approaching him. He grabbed his weapon as tightly as possible. His gaze was imperturbable. He took his will into his fist and decided to use all his strength once he was given such an opportunity. And the boy stood still, looking calmly at these three. A bright red-yellow light emanated from it. He thought to himself that a little more, just a little more. And then he exclaimed, clutching his cheek, that he was in great pain. But it looked like a game. He laughed, holding his red, supposedly wounded cheek. The Sun Emperor and the other men also noticed that this boy's acting was too terrible. They also figured him out just like the demon girl. And this is what would need to be proven. The three of them turned around and ran towards the exit. No one has ever run away so quickly and swiftly as these three men. The guy only managed to look at their backs. Then a girl named Emma exclaimed that they would not let these men leave. Her eyes lit up with an evil light and she was very stern and serious. The boy replied that naturally he would not let them leave. He glanced slyly towards the men. The Sun Emperor was indignant. He said that the boy promised that he would not beat them. Now they were even more scared. The boy closed his eyes and smiled. He said that this was indeed the case. He's not going to hit anyone, none of them. The Sun Emperor said that this is so scary. He didn't think there was such a master among the demons. It seems they should be more reserved. He admitted that he was scared to death. And then many rays of fire flashed around the boy. It was like a yellow-red tornado of colorful rays. The boy all lit up, sparkled and sparkled with yellow, colorful rays. The men heard something like a bell ringing above them. They immediately became wary. Bright, colorful lights mixed and a yellow glow flashed. Red rays engulfed everything around. It was an extraordinary, colorful sight and quite terrifying. The boy said that he would not resist their blows. But he didn't say he wouldn't swing his legs. He closed his eyes and thought. And then the system announced that the boy had completed the task. A girl with transparent wings was nearby. She witnessed the task being completed. Then the girl asked her older brother to press confirm. If he presses the confirm button, he will receive a reward for the task. The boy looked at the girl and told her to keep this award for herself. Apparently, he was too confident in his strengths and abilities that he decided to give what he won to the fairy. The girl, of course, agreed. She was very happy with the decision Liam made. It would have been stupid to refuse in her case because she was very weak. The boy turned to the demons. He asked how to understand all this. His demonic palace was almost captured by several mortals, and a bunch of demons stood opposite him listening to what he was talking about. He continued to say that if they allowed this to happen, are they worthy to call themselves demons? To which the girl and the rest of the demons opened their mouths, not knowing what to answer. The boy again glared at them with his piercing gaze. He said that they don't even know his name. And indeed, they stood before him, thoughtful, and as if they had filled their mouths with water. The girl was the main one among them, and she also did not know what to say. After all, they really didn't know his name. When the boy laughed and said that this is it, the disciples of the demon clan did not recognize their demon emperor. He asked how much time had passed since he went to the bottom. Then the demons standing nearby did not expect such a question. They exclaimed like the demon emperor, period, because they really didn't recognize the boy. Standing in front of them, the guy put his hands on his lower back, and he asked, seriously, looking at them, why they had not yet kneeled before him. Then they unanimously exclaimed that the demon emperor had returned. They just didn't know, didn't expect it. They opened their mouths in great surprise. The girl was the first to greet the demon emperor. She declared herself to be a disciple of the demon race, Emma. Another disciple named Maurice introduced himself as a disciple of the demon race and said that he was paying tribute to the great demon emperor. Then, when they introduced themselves to him, he said that this was not the place for talking. Therefore, first you need to go to the hall, inviting them to follow him. And so he proudly walked forward, feeling like a real demon emperor. And his people followed him obediently, taking with them their sharp swords. And now they were inside the palace of the demon emperor. The girl said that no one had been here for a long time. Everything there was gloomy and damp, but the candles did not stop burning with a bright, warm fire. "This is not a problem," the emperor exclaimed as he sat down in his huge, comfortable chair, which resembled the throne of a king. And then the building was again filled with bright yellow light. The boy sat down on his throne and said that it had been so long since he had seen his favorite chair. We already closed our eyes, experiencing some kind of bliss and satisfaction. A statue of many heads of evil-toothed dragons seemed to shine above him. Their eyes glowed with blue lights and their heads with yellow, bright, fiery light. The emperor invited his people to talk about their palace of the demon lord, about what important events took place here. His people gathered opposite the throne, kneeling before him. The girl Emma asked what the guy wanted to hear about important events, about the return of the demon emperor. She bowed before him, not knowing what to say. The boy Liam thought about it and said to his clan, "Do they really know nothing other than this?" He is very ashamed of all of them. But he has returned, and now he will allow the demonic race to rise again. He was very serious and was ready to fight for his people, for his demonic people. Here his speech and thoughts were interrupted by a girl. It was a fairy with transparent wings. She urgently called her older brother. Apparently she had some urgent matter from the system. The boy immediately glanced in her direction and asked what she wanted from him again. After all, he is now very busy explaining to his people who so badly needed him what was what. The girl said that a new task had appeared for him. Her eyes glowed with a bright, joyful light again. She clasped her hands together, excitedly expressing her emotions. Liam thought that she was very annoying to him, but he still asked what he needed to do. Then the girl said that the boy should look where she was pointing to him. And here is a new task. The title will amuse the Demon Emperor. The task is to develop your elite fighters at least tenfold within a month. The reward for successful completion of the mission is a magic weapon. If they fail, the elite of the Demon Emperor's palace will be punished. He answered the girl that instead of this task, he could do something more useful. He got a little angry. But the girl began to feel sad and cry in front of him. She wanted the boy to soften at least a little and not be so strict towards her. Then the boy said that he should forget about it. He thinks they can be molded into something useful. And so he again, sitting on the throne, called his people as close as possible. They bowed before him again. "Hail your Demon Emperor." Then Emperor Liam called the girl Emma to his place. He asked her to come to him. Emma approached the Emperor and was slightly excited. She did not understand why he called her. Liam put his hand on the girl's head and looked at her seriously. The Demon Emperor tested her strength. Emma's cultivation base was too weak. After checking, Liam released a drop of his demonic blood from his finger. Everyone around was surprised by such a gesture, because the blood of the Demon Emperor was very valuable. Liam intended to share a part of himself for the benefit of his subjects, in order to somehow help them become stronger. Emma began to refuse because she understood that the gift was too valuable. The girl didn't think she deserved this. But the Emperor insisted and did not accept refusal. The girl decided not to test the ruler's patience, so she did not continue to argue, but simply accepted the gift. People around understood perfectly well that the blood of the Emperor was an opportunity to gain strength. Emma suddenly grabbed her head and began to scream, because the force in her was very powerful and difficult to cope with. But when the girl accepted her, her body gradually began to change. Even Emma's hair took on a richer color. Liam warned that the girl's body was too weak and she needed to get used to his blood, but whether she can survive this transformation depends only on herself. Emma did not want to let down the Emperor and his favor towards her. Therefore, she concentrated and gathered willpower to gain control over the gifted power. The beauty's body was so transformed that its energy literally amazed everyone present in the hall. The Emperor looked contentedly at the submission, which met his expectations. In an instant, Emma was no longer recognizable. The blood of the Demon Emperor literally fused with her and only signed her potential. The girl fell on her knees before her ruler and thanked him for such a gift. Liam was pleased with the result because her strength increased 100 times, so the investment was profitable for him. System Fairy Lulu was amazed at Emma's high-quality cultivation, but she was also struck by the power of the new owner's blood. The Demon Emperor explained that Emma had reached soul-level strength, so she was considered stronger than the 3 human race masters who came. The girl continued to thank the master, even promised to give her life for him if necessary as a sign of devotion. Liam called the rest of his subjects to donate their blood and make them worthy members of the demonic cult. A piece of the Emperor passed through everyone who was in the hall. Depending on the strength of will and spirit, their bodies were also transformed and filled with power. Each warrior felt new possibilities in himself. Their appearance also became like an emperor. They fell on their knees before their master and thanked him with all their hearts for such a gift. Liam himself understood that thanks to his blood it was possible to quickly create a group of powerful warriors, but this was not enough. After all, a lot of time has been lost, so you should come up with a way to make your people even stronger, so that they can resist enemies whose strength is also growing before our eyes. The Demon Emperor had no contact with the outside world for a long time, so he didn't know if there was anyone stronger than him outside the palace. Liam turned to the warriors and gave them the order to gather all the talented children of the demon race within a month. They joyfully accepted the will of the master and bowed. The Emperor also gave them 3 types of magical weapons so that they could defend themselves if necessary. The subjects looked at the master's gifts with delight and admired their power. Liam didn't consider them anything supernatural, but he assumed that something like that would do for these guys. The Emperor ordered not to let him down, to which Emma and the other guys bowed to him with burning eyes. And on his orders, the warriors of the demonic cult went to look for talented children. The System Fairy Lulu decided to give the owner a reward for the completed task, but he rudely ordered her to keep the reward for herself. Lulu, without losing her positive attitude, gave Liam a new task. As an emperor with 1,000 years of experience, he was not particularly happy with such tricks. The system ordered to increase the population to 100,000 units. As a reward, 10 pieces of magical weapons were promised, but if not fulfilled, the palace would be destroyed. Liam considered such a number impossible. The task for a beginner was very difficult this time. Lulu suggested that he familiarize himself with the current population in order to understand the scale of the work. The emperor did not expect that she would perform such functions, so he responded to this proposal with a grin. But Lulu did not perceive such grins. She is a powerful system fairy, not a tooth fairy. Liam didn't argue, so he asked to see the statistics. This was not a problem for the system fairy, so she smiled and winked at the owner. In an instant, a system window with information appeared before the operator's eyes. According to current data, the population is 150 people. He decided to clarify whether this task was for a beginner. After all, with a population of 150 units, collecting 100,000 is too difficult. Lulu could no longer tolerate these whims. Sometimes it's easy for him, sometimes it's difficult. It was strange for her to listen to indignation from someone who has a leveled eye. Liam made it clear to the fairy that even though she was part of the system, if she spoke to him in such a tone, she would be left without wings. He told her to find information about the number of demons within 100 miles of the Demon Emperor Hall and how many of them were suitable for cultivation. System Lulu provided the information he wanted. There were 5 million representatives of the demon race in total, but there were 310,000 suitable for cultivation. Although this is not a lot, it is still something, so Liam was not upset. Lulu was confused by the fact that the emperor intended to use his authority to win over the public. She invited him to pay her a small amount of money, then the system fairy promised to help with sending out advertisements to all these people. Lulu asked for money or a kiss from the owner in exchange for services. The Demon Emperor did not need system help, much less purchase bonuses. After all, he is already a powerful personality who can easily get into the heads of his subjects. He took a deep breath, and as he exhaled, he sent out energy messages to the demons. Energy notices scattered throughout the area. Representatives of the demon race listened to every word with trepidation. But the Emperor's warning also reached representatives of the human race. They were sure that absolutely all demons had long been enslaved. They recognized the energy of the one they beat many years ago. Only now he had become much stronger, but people were still confident of their advantage. They recalled with a grin the time when they could afford to mock all representatives of the demon race. Between themselves, they agreed to find this emperor and remind him of the old days, remind him of what fear is. Meanwhile, Liam informed his subjects that he was their emperor and had now woken up after a long sleep. The demons rejoiced at the return of their ruler, because at last there was hope for freedom. He told them all to come to the demonic palace because the rise of the demons was just around the corner. At the end of his speech, Liam turned to the system fairy, saying that he was doing well without her help. Lulu was very upset because such a little trick could help her make money. She didn't understand why her new owner was so greedy and self-confident. Demons have indeed been doing people's dirty work for many years in order to somehow survive. Hearing the Emperor's call, they were very happy. The thought that demons would soon rise warmed their hearts and liberated hope for justice. On a secluded area, there was a very beautiful house that hovered in the clouds and distantly controlled the situation in this world. There lived 2 representatives of the human race who quietly held a tea ceremony and discussed worldly things. Their minds could sense any hesitation among the people, and right now they could sense hesitation among the demons. It seemed impossible because demons are not a threat now. They were sent long ago to do hard work and serve people. But the influence of a stronger demon was felt, one who could gather many representatives of his race and unite against humanity. Although the old acquaintance had become stronger, these 2 people did not intend to feel fear towards him. After all, many years ago they already met on the battlefield. Then the people gained the upper hand, but whether this will happen again in the future is unknown. These 2 were going to get back together with an old acquaintance in order to clarify which of them is stronger. The desire to teach a lesson to the naive demons shone in the eyes of these people. But they are the only naive ones here. But the 2 experts left their quiet abode, wanting to humiliate their old acquaintance. They planned to play with him first and then kill him. The system fairy sensed a threat to her master. She decided to see who exactly wanted to attack and whether they were equal in strength to the demon emperor. Lulu used her abilities and raised the archive to examine those who wished to attack. The first was Chorus. He was 100,000 years old. The combat power of this representative of the human race was only 2,000. The second was his brother Dylan. He is 100,000 years old, shoots and absorbs well. The combat power is 2,100. This was nothing compared to the demon emperor, whose combat power was 9,999, so Lulu was upset that no one would hit her master in the head. Liam noticed that his assistant was extremely whiny and was indignant about her constant tears. Sitting on his throne, the emperor ordered all the demons to ascend to the palace. The demons had long gathered near the walls of the palace and were waiting to be received. Emma asked all the pureblood students to go to the other side to register. Everyone lined up in 2 lines and approached to be included in the lists. Sitting on his throne, Liam watched the progress of registration. He was pleased by the fact that among the demonic disciples there were many young, pure-blooded demons. Suddenly, Lulu turned to him. She said that she had some information for him. The emperor clarified whether he was talking about 2 experts of the human race. The system fairy was indignant because she considered herself all-seeing and influential, but suddenly it turned out differently. Liam replied that he had long felt these 2, and that they were heading towards the Palace of Demons. He was glad to have the guests, because he considered this a good example of combat for the students who had gathered. Having finished speaking, the emperor flew out of the hall, leaving the system fairy alone with his indignations. Liam rose above the crowd of students to prove his presence to them and instill faith in their race. Demons with open mouths contemplated the beauty and power of their ruler. Everyone wanted to one day become at least a little like him. The disciples immediately fell to their knees and began to greet their emperor. He ordered his subjects to rise from their knees and listen to him. The eyes of the representatives of the demon race glowed with joy and respect for their lord. Liam told 2 students to step forward from the crowd. They carried out the will of the emperor, came forward, and bowed in greeting. The demon emperor asked their names in order to get to know the subjects better. But the disciples, with pain in their eyes and sadness in their voices, said that they had no names. They had been treated with contempt all their lives, and they did not have such luxury as a name. It was painful for Lama to hear. His people suffered so much all this time that they were treated with such contempt. Pointing his finger at the first student, the emperor gave him a name, saying that from now on his name is Black Bull. Then he pointed his finger at the second one and called him the Golden Tiger. The disciples were glad to receive such a gift and bowed to their master as a sign of gratitude. The system fairy was surprised by such mercy of the owner. She considered him callous and indifferent to those who are weaker than him. Liam did not pay attention to Lulu because he felt that uninvited guests would soon arrive. 2 experts of the human race were already rushing towards their old acquaintance through the air, riding their weapons. Karis and Dylan were sure that when Liam met them, he would begin to smell of fear and maybe even shit himself. These 2 laughed self-confidently, not even suspecting how powerful their rival was. The demon emperor kept an eye on the brothers all the time and even heard their conversation. Such naivety and arrogance made him grin, because his hatred had accumulated for 100,000 years and was now ready to come out and punish the offenders to the fullest. Liam was even angry that people were taking so long and slow to get to his palace. After all, he had been waiting for this meeting for many millennia. Emma noticed that the emperor was waiting for someone and shared her speculations with the rest of the students. To somehow pass the waiting time, Liam closed his eyes and calmly rested in the air. Emma felt tension in the atmosphere and kept her eyes on the emperor to be on alert all the time. Liam remained calm and simply froze over his students, waiting. When the guests arrived, the emperor felt it and opened his eyes. Suddenly there was a paralyzing lightning strike which was thrown by people. The discharge of this technique crushed many disciples of the demonic race in the square near the palace. Emma saw the enemy's attack and immediately used transformation to fight back. But the emperor ordered her not to interfere in this, because he wants to see how many demons can repel the attack of the human race. The girl accepted his will, because she understood that he was waiting for these people and knew about their visit. The Black Bull and the Golden Tiger asked their lord for permission to punish the enemy. Liam appreciated their zeal, but still ordered them not to move, because they would not be able to defeat these people alone. The disciples accepted the will of the emperor and froze. The demon emperor assessed the situation. In total, about 100 demons were able to withstand this attack. This is a good result, but it is not enough. Liam turned to his students. He said that since they simply surrendered after the first attack of the enemy, how are they going to continue to defend their master? His speech inspired the demons and gathered their spirits into a heap. All the students got up from the ground and started shouting that they no longer wanted to bend under people. They shouted that from now on, the demons would rather die than surrender to slavery. And now the entire area near the palace was filled not with pitiful slaves, but with real brave demons, headed by a powerful emperor. Liam looked at his subjects and realized that their fighting spirit had finally ignited. They deserved his blood. A crowd of students watched the further actions of representatives of the human race and were ready to attack at the command of the emperor. Dylan told his brother with a grin that their old friend had grown up and gained strength. Liam heard this and so was no longer going to stand by. He slowly but surely walked towards the two. Having flown closer, the operator declared that his guests were too slow and were crawling towards his palace like snails. The brothers mockingly said that Liam had become seriously bolder since he began to be daring right away. Dylan noticed that it was necessary to hit him harder in their last meeting so that he would not be so self-confident. Emma, watching what was happening, realized that the holy tyrants of the human race had arrived. The disciples watched their master with trepidation. They understood that dangerous enemies had arrived. And to support their emperor, the demons began to shout that they believed in him with all their hearts. "Long live the emperor!" they shouted at the top of their lungs, showing their devotion. Liam was flattered by such a warm and invigorating energy that emanated from his subjects. Karis decided to remind his old friend how badly he and his brother beat him 100,000 years ago. The brothers looked at each other and began to choose who would be the first to attack this arrogant demon. Dylan decided to treat himself to such an event and go first. Karis didn't argue and decided to leave his attacks for dessert in order to finish off Liam. Dylan was flexing his fists because he couldn't wait to check how much his opponent's strength had increased over 100,000 years. This man approached the demon emperor closely with an insolent smile. But the Lord of Darkness did not give him even the slightest opportunity to attack. Instead, he gave him a powerful slap in the face. Not only the students were shocked, but also the birds that passed by. Emma was amazed by the strength of her master, because only a very strong demon can repel these tyrants. Liam slapped not only Dylan, but also his brother. These two experts held their faces burning from the beatings and did not know how to react. The demon emperor noted with a smile that in 100,000 years his enemies had not been able to become stronger. Harris was angry. He accused Liam of extreme insolence and was going to teach him some manners. The emperor realized that it would not end with slaps. These two are too arrogant and won't just back down, so I was ready to hit them hard. But at that moment, a system notification appeared that was simply impossible to ignore. Lulu said that there was a new task for the owner. The emperor was not too happy to hear this, but asked to post the tasks as quickly as possible. The system offered two options to choose from. The first offered to withstand 10 attacks from the Holy Tyrant. The reward would be increased strength. And if you fail, the punishment will be serious bodily harm or even death, because cultivation will be reset to 0. The second option suggested running away from the battle with the experts of the human race. The reward will be the complete destruction of the demon army and additional points for cultivation. If he fails, the demon hall will be destroyed and the emperor himself will die. Liam carefully read all the options and asked Lulu if she was setting this up on purpose. But the system fairy asked not to blame her because she was also a newbie. The demon emperor decided to choose the first option and give his opponents the opportunity to strike him 10 times. Harris was furious at Liam's self-confidence. Dylan restrained his brother's ardor and volunteered to go first. But Karis insisted on his own and was not going to give up his place to his brother. He unleashed all his power to kill an old acquaintance. His ice blade turned into a super weapon and directly glowed with a blue energy color. With complete confidence in his abilities, Karis pointed his deadly blade at Liam straight into his calm face. The energy flows of the expert of the human race raged in full force and strove to reach the enemy in order to cause him as much harm as possible. All students felt the power of Carice and his techniques, which eclipsed everything around with their power. But Liam was still not eclipsed. No matter how powerful the attack was, the Emperor remained completely calm, which delighted the demons. Even after baptizing his subjects with his blood, it was clear how powerful the Demon Emperor was. His students were confident that under the mentorship of such a leader, they would not be afraid of even the most powerful enemies. Karis did not inspire a feeling of fear, but his brother seemed much stronger. The energy ball enveloped Liam, and the brothers were sure that this was a victory. But Dylan decided to play it safe and took out his warlike spear to finish off his old acquaintance at the moment when his strength was at 0. The energy ball dissipated, and Liam stood with the same calm expression on his face because he had not suffered a bit. The Demon Emperor told the human race representative that he had 9 more attempts to somehow touch him. Karis was in complete shock because after his trump technique there was not a scratch on Liam. He only looked at the 2 brothers with a grin and deliberately provoked them to attack. Karis did not understand how this was possible because he considered himself almost invincible. He refused to believe what was happening, so he firmly decided to kill the Emperor at any cost. The human race expert took out his blade and cloned himself to deliver a more powerful blow. For Liam, these attacks were like a game. He didn't even perceive them as opponents. He just quietly counted the number of useless blows. And so Karis resorted to the most extreme measure. He pointed his blade at the Emperor's forehead and menacingly intended to pierce him. Liam was not injured this time either. He stated with a smile that Karis had one last attempt left. The expert himself had already begun to doubt his powers. He claimed that Liam's power was not at all similar to that of a human, but there was nothing strange in this, because he was a demon. Karis could not accept defeat, because he considered himself a super tyrant who had no equal. He tried again and again, pointed his blade at the forehead of the Demon Emperor, hoping that this time he would be lucky. Liam, as before, remained calm. He was even amused by this behavior of his opponent because it was clear that he was behaving this way out of complete despair. The demon operator silently closed his eyes and adjusted his energy flows, which instantly destroyed the deadly blade of Karis. Looking at the fragments of his beloved blade, the human race expert did not understand how Liam suddenly became so strong. Karis was literally at a dead end. It was very difficult for him to accept defeat. Dylan told his brother to step aside and give him this fight. His brother was indignant because he believed that their cultivation level was equal, so he did not understand how he was going to win. Dylan told him to just watch in silence. The expert bared his torso, throwing off his shirt. The piece of clothing of the second expert of the human race fell down epically and promisingly. And then the shirt flew to the ground and almost touched it. As soon as this happened, a powerful energy column shot out from a piece of Dylan's wardrobe. The shirt was literally incinerated by such energy and left behind only soot from the explosion. Dylan absorbed this powerful energy and let his brother know that he was much stronger. The system fairy raised the stats and saw that this guy's power had increased to 21,000. She was glad that a worthy opponent had finally appeared for her arrogant master. During all this time, Dylan became 10 times stronger. But this didn't scare Liam. He told the guy to advance because he was already tired of waiting. The human race expert asked his old acquaintance not to rush because he had not finished preparing yet. He grabbed his legendary spear to increase his cultivation level. Dylan grabbed his weapon tighter and began to absorb energy flows from it. The combat power of the Holy Tyrant rose to 42,000. Lulu did not hide her admiration because she hoped that at least someone would put Liam in his place. The Demon Emperor was not impressed by this performance. He asked the guy to finish his preparations and start the battle because he was already bored waiting. But Dylan asked to wait a little longer because he had something else in stock. The last element was his bandage on his forehead, which he took off with a smile. The tyrant of the human race dissolved the bandage and absorbed some more combat power. Now Dylan's fighting strength was 84,000. The system fairy became more and more happy about this transformation of her master's enemy. And finally, the expert of the human race said that he was ready to fight. Karis, with a trembling voice, asked his brother if he was really training in secret from him. Dylan did not hide the fact that all this time he had been working on perfecting his capabilities. Karis almost choked with his envy. He could not believe his eyes. The human race expert said that he beat Liam 100,000 years ago and will do the same now without any problems. The Emperor ordered him to talk less and get down to business. Dylan said with a grin that first he would use his legendary attack, which he used to defeat an old acquaintance 100,000 years ago. The Holy Tyrant raised his weapon upward, charging with spiritual energy for a more accurate and powerful blow. He activated the primordial power of the human race in his spear. Dylan was determined to take down his opponent with a lightning strike. He wanted Liam to feel the same fear that he felt 100,000 years ago. His blow was so powerful that all the students instantly fell from his energy wave. Emma understood that this human race expert was very strong. Karis did not understand how his brother managed to gain such power. Dylan coldly replied that he trained a lot in his free time to be ready for anything. Karis lowered his eyes and admitted that if they did not retreat immediately, they would die. The Demon Emperor was unshakable. He folded his hands and looked at the two brothers with a smile. Dylan confidently declared that during these 10 attempts he would crush his old acquaintance at any cost. It was time for the second attempt to harm Liam. Dylan increased the combat power and size of his spear and threw it straight at the Demon Emperor. The spear flew to Liam very quickly, but he still remained completely calm, despite the fiery force of the enemy. The blast wave was very powerful, so the Emperor ordered his subjects to create protection over the students so that they would not be harmed. Emma and the rest of the stronger demons created an energy shield on representatives of the demonic race. But the force was incredibly crushing, so it easily broke through this defense. Only those who received the blood of the Demon Emperor stood on their feet. The rest of the disciples suffered. Liam was much stronger than this, so he stood unharmed and demanded to continue. Dylan decided to activate his abilities to the fullest, putting as much power into the spear as possible. And now the deadly weapon of the human expert was already rushing towards the Demon Emperor at full speed, sparkling with fiery power. Liam exhaled in disappointment because he had hoped that the enemy's forces would be more impressive. He grabbed the spear, rushing towards him at lightning speed with just 2 fingers, which stopped it in place. With minimal effort, the Demon Emperor destroyed the spear in a split second, shattering it into pieces. Dylan had a tight, energetic connection with his weapon, so the destruction of the spear also hit him. The Holy Tyrant was indignant because he used a triple attack, but his opponent remained unharmed. Liam explained that although Dylan has become stronger since their last meeting, he is still not a worthy opponent for him. The Demon Emperor also recalled that the old acquaintance had 7 attempts left to strike. The human race expert realized that it would not be possible to kill Liam using ordinary methods. He glanced at his brother, who was already beginning to get nervous. Dylan grabbed Karis by the throat to absorb his energy. He asked his brother for forgiveness for such extreme measures, but there was no other way out. Dylan absorbed his brother against his will in order to have at least some advantage in battle. And in a moment, he completely absorbed Karis, dissolving him in himself. His combat power skyrocketed, and Lulu was the first to appreciate it. Liam told his system companion that if he really were a newbie, he would have died a long time ago from such tasks. He did not hide his dissatisfaction with the system rules. Lulu, with a naive smile, said that she can help the owners in difficult times, but there is a fee for this. The Demon Emperor laughed when he heard this, because everything seemed so crazy that he didn't even want to listen. But Lulu, although a system fairy, cannot influence the rules of the system, so she did not even try to convince the owner. Dylan absorbed his brother, which impoverished their joint abilities and appearance as well. An advanced expert of the human race told Liam that he and his brother were now one and intended to kill him. The Demon Emperor regarded this as another ridiculous threat, so he simply said that the guys had 7 attempts left. Dylan told him not to underestimate him, otherwise he would make Liam suffer and beg for mercy. In their new appearance, the experts of the human race activated their joint capabilities and were ready to attack. The reborn spear burned with the flame of anger. The Holy Tyrants raged like a tornado. This technique seemed more interesting to the Demon Emperor than the previous ones. Liam activated his demonic palm, which was capable of many things. The Emperor repulsed the first wave of enemy attacks and ordered to continue. But no matter how powerful the technology of the experts of the human race was, Liam easily destroyed everything. Dylan's spear shattered again upon contact with the demonic palm. Looking at the fragments of his weapon, the Holy Tyrant froze in horror because he did not understand how this was possible. Liam calmly reminded his old friend that he had 3 attempts left. Emma admired the invincible fighting power of her emperor. Like all the other students who encouraged their master, shouting admiring phrases, Dylan said in despair that he tried his best, used literally everything he knew, but he failed to harm Liam. The demon emperor only briefly answered the human expert that he was too weak. He turned to the system fairy and asked if she could see combat power. Lulu was confused and did not know what to answer the owner. Liam aggressively asked her how much fighting power he had. After all, he had not paid any attention to this before and did not even know that there was a measurement scale. Lulu hesitated with the answer because she couldn't really help him in this matter. The demon emperor was already starting to get angry due to the lack of necessary information. The system fairy admitted in tears that her level does not allow her to see the combat power of her owner because she is still very weak. Liam stated that such an assistant is of no use at all. Lulu answered upset that it wasn't her fault because those were the rules. The emperor decided not to dwell on this topic and told the fairy to forget about it. He turned to Dylan, who was sadly floating in the sky, and said that it was time to continue the fight. But the expert of the human race suddenly announced that he had lost, and another attempt to harm Liam would simply kill him. Lulu was very happy because the owner failed the task. A smirk flashed in her innocent eyes. The emperor suddenly became thoughtful. The system set the task to withstand 10 attacks from each enemy, and this one refuses to do them. Therefore, I sent a question whether this situation would be considered a failure of the task. The system fairy could not contain her joy because Liam fell for this trick and will now be punished. She asked the owner if he was ready to humbly suffer the punishment for failing the task. Liam thought for a moment before answering. Lulu reminded that she has the power to help the owner, but she will have to pay a certain amount for this. The demon emperor confidently stated that he did not need her help. He just wanted to see what the system would do for him, and whether it could do it at all. Lulu called him a stupid newbie and said that now there was no way to get away with punishment. The system notification said that Liam failed the mission and accepted the punishment. The systemic punishment has already begun to gain momentum, heating up the skies with thunder and lightning. The system fairy was glad that now the master's cultivation would be reset, and he would become a submissive and sweet newcomer who would need her services. No one except the emperor knew what was happening because they had never heard of the system. Dylan even suggested that this was heaven-sent justice to save him from demons. A formidable beam of heavenly or systemic punishment headed straight towards the demon emperor. This phenomenon even tried to influence the hero, but he rejected this influence with the power of thought. Thus, even the punishment of the system became powerless before the lord of the demon race. He waited a little longer, expecting something more powerful. But realizing that nothing more would happen, he asked Lulu if this was all the system was capable of. The system fairy had never seen anything like this, so she simply froze in horror. Liam asked what was wrong with the fairy's face. There was a system failure in Lulu's settings, because before she was not programmed to help such a powerful owner. While there was an overload in the system fairy's head, it was as if she was disconnected from the current reality. But when she came to her senses, she could not immediately understand what was happening and why the owner was looking at her so creepily. The emperor did not believe that his assistant had anything to do with it, but still decided to leave the showdown with her for later. Lulu silently looked at the owner and did not understand what to do next. She was confident that the system could have a suppressive effect on its wearer, but in this case, everything was far from as it should be. Meanwhile, in the system world, managers gathered and reflected on this situation. One of the system elders, Maurice, outlined the essence of the matter and asked his colleagues what they would do. But all the system sages sat silently in their places and did not answer. Maurice demanded at least some comments from his colleagues because silence would not help matters. But everyone present considered this disorder to be Maurice's own fault, so they told him to sort it out on his own. The system elder did not understand the essence of the complaint because this was just an accident. He didn't know that the trainee would encounter such a strong master. One of the system elders had a master tens of thousands of years ago, who was also very strong. He refused to accept the system, so they had to get rid of him. Morris stated that in this case, everything is not the same as before. After all, this higher form of life that the trainee encountered is slightly different from the previous ones. Colleagues could not understand what the difference was and demanded an explanation. Maurice said that it is better to see than to hear and took out her auxiliary gadget. He displayed Liam's personal data, which indicated that combat power could not be measured. This caused a shock because Maurice is a system elder, not a trainee, and still cannot comprehend the capabilities of this person. He was a system expert of the 7th level, but this was not enough to comprehend the scale of Liam's power. An 8th level system expert volunteered to try because she believed that she could succeed. But after downloading personal data to myself, I became convinced that I also could not measure the combat power of this highest form of life. When everyone understood the seriousness of the situation, Maurice announced the purpose of today's meeting. He offered to decide whether to open the heavenly crown for them. Everyone present was shocked by what they heard. They did not understand how to enable the celestial crown for the novice system, that is, for Lulu. Everyone was against this, so they did not give consent to use it. But Maurice continued to talk. He said that Liam's strength advantage over everyone present in this room is already obvious. Moreover, they don't even know the limits of his combat power, and if he is allowed to grow further, then one day he will break the lock of fate and come here. Maurice asked his colleagues to think about what would happen in such a case. Since everyone was silent, Maurice decided to propose the following. He suggested observing Limam for a month to see how far he could go. If in a month they cannot find a way to control it, then they will open the heavenly crown. All those present accepted his idea and agreed with his proposal. At the end of the meeting, the system representatives left the system room. Only Maurice remained, who was up to something. He called one of the system assistants, Freya, to get in touch. After all, its owner and bearer of the system was also an emperor. Maurice wondered how she was getting on with him. Freya stated that everything was going very well. She completed the implementation of the system into the emperor of the human race and went through the novice stage with him. Maurice was surprised by such speed and asked what her rank was now after the update. Freya proudly said that she is now a rank 7 system assistant. He told her to put off these conversations because there was something more important to discuss. Maurice gave her his brilliant and cunning plan, and after some time he asked if she understood everything. Freya listened carefully to the system elder and accepted his wishes, promising to fulfill everything. The system assistant instantly left the meeting room after receiving the task, and Maurice finally exhaled. Let's return to our demon emperor. He confidently told his old acquaintance that he had changed a lot in 100,000 years. The disciples glorified the name of their master with all their might, being proud of him and encouraging him. Dylan admitted that he was not Liam's opponent, but he was consoled by the fact that the demon emperor gave away his location during this fight. He shouted with hope in his eyes that soon stronger people would come here to destroy him. Liam replied with a smile that he would look forward to more uninvited guests so he could put them in their place. And in order to no longer listen to empty threats, the demon emperor sent a beam of energy into the chest of his opponent. Dylan could not come to terms with his situation. Liam's strength destroyed the body of the holy tyrant just as self-confidence destroyed his soul. Representatives of the demonic race glorified their ruler at the top of their lungs, rejoicing that their emperor was invincible. Liam also understood that everyone who came here from among the enemies would definitely fall before his power. But he also wanted to be able to use his recruits, and for this they needed an uprising. The demon operator took a deep breath and, as she exhaled, loudly called on each demon to rise up for the sake of their kind. After some time, Liam gathered his brave warriors in the throne room and asked Emma for a report on the current situation of the demon people. Emma knelt down and reported that on the way back to the Emperor they planned to collect 50,000 demons, of which 7,000 were purebred. Liam listened to everything carefully and said that this was a pretty good result. Emma continued, "She said that of these recruits, more than 400 joined the ranks of demon warriors. The Emperor ordered the boys to divide these newcomers into 4 teams so that each of those present could lead these teams as generals." The girl thanked her ruler for such trust. The Black Bull and Golden Tiger also knelt down to express gratitude to the Emperor. Liam proudly stated that there is no time to kneel because the demon race needs them. Everyone vowed to follow the great demon emperor at any cost. Once the orders were complete, Liam told everyone to step up and do everything. The newly appointed generals bowed goodbye to their ruler, and they left synchronously to carry out the order of the Supreme Lord. When things were done, Liam turned to Lulu, with whom he had been putting things off. The system fairy hesitantly appeared in front of the owner because she was afraid of his anger. He looked at her with an eerie, penetrating gaze and said that the hour of reckoning had come. Lulu fell into despair. Tears of regret for what she had done appeared in her eyes. She tried to say that she was not to blame for the system failure and asked for forgiveness. Liam didn't intend to harm her, just scare her a little, but when she repented, the Emperor said that he held no grudge. Lulu sensed the approach of the enemy and reported this to the owner. But the Demon Lord had long known about the visit of uninvited guests, as always. Therefore, I simply sat on my throne and watched the appearance of a large light energy clot in front of me. A stately man in light clothes came out of it. He looked impressive and quite serious. Lulu tried to study his personal data, but this person's combat power was beyond her level to measure. Liam did not forget to insert his comment about the qualifications of the system assistant. He said that she was simply useless, since she could not provide the necessary information. This guest was the Emperor of the human race, Adam. The Demon Lord immediately asked him about the purpose of this visit. Adam, with a smile on his face, asked Liam not to be angry because he came with goodness. But the Demon Emperor could not be deceived. He hit the body of his throne with all his might. The shockwave helped reveal the hidden warriors who stood behind the Emperor of the human race. Liam said that he clearly sees how kindly they came to him. He also made it clear that by using such tricks, it would not be possible to avoid anger. Adam admired the Demon Emperor's wit and good instincts, but he still argued that his promise to behave well and not belligerently had weight, so there was no point in doubting it. Liam rose from his throne and demanded to know the true purpose of this meeting. The Emperor of the human race said that he came to personally warn the Demon Lord. He claimed that the human race is the leading one since the demons were defeated many years ago. Adam hoped Liam wouldn't start unnecessary wars. The Demon Emperor reacted badly to these words. After all, the very formulation of causeless wars was already incorrect, because the reasons were colossal. Adam claimed that he had an extremely calm character and did not like to fight. He even said that he had no desire to kill any of the demons. But he also warned that if war threatened them, he would do everything to prevent it. Liam replied that he respects Adam as an emperor, but he does not intend to tolerate commands about the correctness of his actions, because they are now in his possession. The aggressive energy of the Demon Emperor crippled the warriors of the human race. It was a kind of warning. Demonic energy also directed towards Adam himself in order to put his self-confidence in its place. The Emperor of the human race even had to put up a shield so as not to fall under the influence of the forces of darkness. In a serious tone, he asked Liam to calm down and not be so hostile. The Demon Emperor assured that he was still calm, and it was better not to see him get angry. Adam said that the purpose of his visit was not related to the resolution of any conflict. On the contrary, he came to avoid quarrels. Emperor Adam wanted to convey that the rise of the human race is inevitable. He hoped that the demon race would simply accept this and promised that people would not take the initiative to use force. Liam replied that the human race had taken over lands belonging to demons, and he intended to return them. Adam, with a menacing face, declared that this was impossible. The Demon Emperor told Adam to leave because he has his own means by which he will return what belongs to the demons. The Emperor of the human race was excited by such speeches because he hoped for Liam's understanding. He did not understand why the Supreme Demon was so obsessed with the idea of taking away the lands. Therefore, Adam, contrary to his good nature, declared that he would take action against the Demon Emperor. Liam came closer to him and asked with a grin what measures he was going to use. Gritting his teeth, Adam replied that due to the fiery temper of the Demon Lord, he was forced to kill him in order to maintain the balance of justice for his people. Liam laughed in his face. He said that he didn't mind, if, of course, he was strong enough to fight him. The situation between the two rulers became tense. Each was ready to defend the rights of his race. Lulu worriedly asked the owner if he had enough strength to defeat such a strong opponent. Liam asked her not to interfere because all this happened because of her, and he was joining the fight for her own good. The System Fairy was embarrassed because she believed that everything happened because of the owner. The Demon Emperor only reacted to her arguments with a grin, which made it clear that he fundamentally did not perceive the system. Lulu wanted to believe that there was still meaning and benefit in the system. But looking at how the demon race suffered, the System Fairy was ready to punish all the offenders herself. Adam understood that the cultivation base of the demon race emperor was indeed very strong, but everyone believed that he could resist him. His system assistant Freya asked him to be careful, because even she with her level cannot see Liam's full combat power. Adam still could not understand why Freya was so insistent on this battle. The system assistant to the Emperor of the human race asked not to rush, because everything will become clear a little later. He looked at her with disbelief because these riddles tormented his interest. Adam finally decided to fight and told Liam that he was ready to fight. The Demon Emperor, with a sparkle in his eyes, confidently said that his opponent had 3 attempts to harm him. Adam was furious at such impudence and told Liam not to be arrogant. The Emperor of the human race raised his hand up and began to create an energy field, the light of which was blinding. The field went beyond the demon throne room and enveloped almost the entire palace. Liam decided to clarify whether he really shouldn't be arrogant. Adam sovereignly replied that it was not worth it because the Demon Emperor had fallen into his field and he could do whatever he wanted with him. But before he could finish speaking, the Demon Lord had already pierced this vaunted field with his hand, causing shock to the leader of the people. The powerful energy field that the Emperor of the human race created instantly collapsed and dissipated. Liam said with a smile that he was in charge now. Adam asked in bewilderment how he managed to destroy this field. The Demon Lord decided to show the guest a real field to show his superiority. He pointed his finger up and declared that the field he created was the real one, and everything else was a pathetic parody. At this moment, a truly powerful energy space appeared with many demon masks. Adam stood in confusion, not knowing what to expect next from his opponent. With his hand on the guest's shoulder, Liam asked if he liked the environment in the demonic field. Freya warned the owner that the enemy was very strong and it was better to run away from here as quickly as possible. But Adam said that for some reason he could not move from his place, as if chained to the ground. Freya could not understand why her master was numb. Judging by Adam's excited face, the Demon Emperor began to guess what was going on. He turned to Lulu, suggesting that the coming of the Emperor of the human race was all the tricks of the system. But the system fairy had nothing to do with it and tried to somehow justify itself. Liam guessed that Adam also had a system, and he became extremely interested in what would happen to it if the carrier was killed. In order to understand the consequences, the Demon Lord decided to attack the Emperor of the human race. Adam could not believe that he could be defeated so easily. Liam also did not expect that as soon as he touched his opponent, he would fly off. Therefore, I concluded that the leader of the people was somehow weak. The eyes of the Emperor of the human race filled with fear because the enemy is very strong. He didn't understand why. Having a system, he still couldn't win. Freya repeated that now it is necessary to temporarily retreat. Adam was indignant because Freya introduced herself as the most powerful system assistant and did not understand why she demanded to run away. Freya stated in all seriousness that if Adam did not leave immediately, he would die here. He shouted that he hated losing and the rules of the system that played against him. Adam stood up and told Liam that they would meet again. The Emperor of the human race immediately left the demon throne room to save his life. Liam said that the next meeting will be very soon, and then they will have a lot of fun. On the territory of the Emperor's palace, peace and harmony reigned among the people, which cannot be said about the situation inside. Adam tore and threw with anger. He was painfully offended to suffer defeat and run away in cowardice. He considered demons to be despicable, inferior creatures, so he did not want to believe that their emperor was much stronger than him. In desperation, he turned to his system assistant to call her. He asked to make him the strongest and in the shortest possible time. Freya explained that Liam is too strong, and even she cannot help her master surpass him. Adam was indignant, because he didn't want to just sit idly by after such a shame. But the system assistant assured that the system community will take care of this issue, so there is no need to worry. She said that the most powerful systems would take on the Demon Emperor and do everything to eliminate him. Adam calmed down a little when he learned about the support of stronger systems. Freya also had high hopes for the help of her colleagues. The Emperor of the human race even felt more confident, because he hoped that Liam would no longer be able to humiliate him like that. But the joy and peace within these walls did not last long, because some forces invaded the territory of Emperor Adam. It was Liam himself who was not going to let their discussion go unchallenged. Adam glanced sideways at Freya to hear further instructions and actions. But she herself was horrified, because she understood the reason for the visit of the Demon Emperor. Liam turned to Freya, seeing her through. He said that he had a better opinion about the systems, but in fact they cannot provide for everything. The Demon Lord encroached on the invisible system world and released his energy. He enveloped her, Freya, which blocked all her actions and made her visible. Adam did not know where to go, because his only hope for omnipotence was enslaved by the demon emperor. Liam pulled the system assistant closer to look and expressed his disgust. He turned to Lulu and asked to leave, citing the fact that system assistants should know each other. Freya greeted the demon emperor on behalf of the system assistants in cultivation. But Lulu didn't even understand what was happening here, because she had just recently been in the role of a system assistant, so she didn't even know what to think. Energy shackles lifted Freya up and began to attack her with a bolt of lightning. She began to sound the alarm and ask for help because the system assistant had been harmed. Liam demanded that she tell about all the system representatives who are stronger than her. While the demon lord was extracting information and Freya by force, Adam, lying on the floor, demanded that his assistant be returned to him. Without her, he was weak and frail, so being in despair, he asked in a raised voice to return Freya to him. The emperor of the human race was in such a hopeless situation that he even decided to attack Liam first. Liam himself was amazed at the state of the leader of the people, because earlier he seemed calm and balanced. Lulu recalled the words of old man Maurice, who assured that all system assistants were protected, and there would be no threat to their health. But at the moment, the demon emperor was extremely determined. Liam slapped Adam, told him to curb his ardor and look at himself in the mirror. The emperor of the human race could not understand what this was for, because he did not even know what his angelic face had turned into. He quickly built himself a mirror to understand what was being said. Peering into the reflection, Adam was horrified because it was not a beautiful man who was looking at him, but some flabby, ugly old man. Liam explained that this appearance is the consequences of severe poisoning, which most likely was the work of the system assistant. Adam fell to his knees from despondency and broke the mirror so as not to see this horror. The demon emperor looked at him and exhaled heavily. He demanded an answer from Freya to the question. She, in turn, refused him, since she could only answer the questions of her master and no one else. Liam did not stand on ceremony, so he destroyed the system assistant of the emperor of the human race. All that was left of Freya were small system fragments that fell to the ground. Previously, Liam was skeptical about the help of the system, but now he finally realized its true purpose. The system is not created to help people. It is created to control and implement its plans, and the carriers in it are just puppets. He turned to his system fairy, asking about her true purpose in relation to him. Lulu smiled sweetly and said that now her algorithm is out of order, and she doesn't understand what's happening at all. Liam menacingly told her that such an excuse doesn't work at all. Lulu was very scared at that moment, because she was already beginning to think that she would face the same end as Freya. But the demon emperor exhaled and calmed down and said that he would still slowly get to the truth. Now that he had dealt with the Lord of Men, it was time to reclaim the demon territories. Looking at the depressed Adam, who could not recover from grief, Liam concluded that technology is very harmful to people. 10 days later, the army of demons was in full swing to take what was theirs. They managed to return many territories to their power, but there was still something to strive for. Fighting with people for their lands, the Black Bull ordered them to liberate these territories. Well, if it weren't for the order of the demon emperor not to kill people indiscriminately, he would have already devoured everyone. The human race had no choice but to run as fast as they could. Emma told them to run faster, otherwise they would change their minds at any moment and deal with those who had neglected them for centuries. And the Golden Tiger urged them on with his demonic technique so that people would definitely not think of returning. Liam was sitting on his throne in the palace and suddenly decided to issue an order to his assistant. Lulu did not come to life that the owner would turn to her for anything. The demon emperor told her to first check how things were going with the restoration of his demonic territories. The system fairy agreed and began to download the data available to her regarding this issue. According to the data of 48 cities inhabited by demons, the population is 6.5 million individuals. Liam figured that this was pretty good. He has only 300 cities in his power, 48 of which have been restored. He also decided to ask how the representatives of the human race were doing. Lulu replied that although the emperor of the people has been defeated and they are not able to fight back without a ruler, there is still one problem. Liam clarified what the problem was. She showed him that the people had informed all the higher ones and now they would join forces to attack the demon palace and the demon lord himself. But Liam didn't consider this a problem. On the contrary, For him, it was an excellent opportunity to take revenge for all the insults that were caused to him 100,000 years ago. Moreover, all his old enemies have not become stronger during this time, so they are very far from the Demon Emperor. One of his warriors, Pegasus, came to report very important information to his master. Pegasus was in a hurry and was extremely excited in trying to tell this news. Liam noticed this and could not understand what had happened that his subject was in such a state. Pegasus fell to his knees and reported that Black Bull had died while they were retaking the territory of Kanglan City. These words made the Demon Emperor very angry. Pegasus tried to explain that this was the reason he came here, because the situation had become tense. He said that many powerful warriors appeared in this city. The Black Bull was left in the minority and was beheaded in front of everyone. Pegasus tried to say one more thing but began to stutter in horror. Liam told him to immediately lay out everything he knew. Pegasus said in a trembling voice that the Black Bull was hanged on the city wall. The Demon Emperor exploded from his throne and ordered his will to be conveyed to the others so that they would continue the offensive. But Pegasus interrupted him, citing that the Golden Tiger army was surrounded by people who appeared out of nowhere. Therefore, they are too busy to continue the mission. This news was extremely bad. It was necessary to quickly come up with a solution to prevent the loss of valuable demonic warriors. Liam turned to Lulu, asking how this could all happen. The system fairy began downloading data to give the owner accurate information. A moment later, she said that it was the fault of the Supreme People who intervened in this and overthrew the Black Bull. The Demon Emperor listened to her and decided to personally visit these Supreme People since they are asking for it. Full of strength and enthusiasm, Liam set out to take revenge on the human race for everything they had done to his people. Meanwhile, on the city wall, the body of the Black Bull was cheerful. People shouted that they didn't feel sorry for him because he was just a monster. But the monster just wanted to live and have rights like everyone else, for which he was killed. The people, as if maddened, triumphed under this wall, glorifying their race and the Supreme. The streets of the city were filled with loud and joyful cries of people who celebrated in honor of the victory. The Supreme, meanwhile, sat and remembered Liam, how 100,000 years ago he was a helpless boy who did not pose a threat even to a rat. But now he is able to defeat Dylan and Harris and the human emperor Adam himself. People have always been famous for their pride and self-confidence, so the Supreme One did not particularly believe that Liam would defeat him. He wanted to personally fight the Demon Emperor to see what he was capable of. The city of Kanglan looked bright and inspiring peace and tranquility. But this is only an appearance, because in fact he is rotten from human cruelty. Even now, when the demons came to take what was rightfully theirs, the people enslaved them again and treated them like garbage. At the head of this chaos sat the Supreme People. The most powerful of them, Oliver, sat in the center, and on the sides were the handsome Lance and the lovely Fury Bree. Old man Oliver was outraged that he had to wait so long for the visit of the Demon Emperors. Bree claimed to feel the breath of a demon nearby. Lance suggested with mockery that Liam was afraid to go to meet them. But Bree sovereignly declared that the Demon Emperor would definitely come, and she had no doubts about this. The wind of justice blew, and the Demon Emperor, together with his army, solemnly appeared at the gates of the city, where the supreme representatives of the human race were waiting for him. Bree sensed his presence and reported to the others that the guest had arrived. The Demon Emperor and his warriors quietly looked at their friend, whom the people had bled dry and hung like a scarecrow on the city wall. People also sensed the presence of a demonic spirit. Those demons whom people took captive were glad to see the appearance of their ruler, because this meant that they were saved. Looking at the joy of the representatives of the demonic race, people reacted to this with ridicule, because they did not yet know the full power of Liam and considered him a weakling. The Demon Emperor looked at his subject Black Bull and was determined to take revenge on the human race for such cruelty to his people. Together with his army, Liam came to the main square where the Supreme People were sitting along with their retinue. The Demon Lord drew attention to Bree. Although she had a human appearance, it was difficult to hide her demonic essence. Liam realized that she was a purebred demon who had betrayed her species. Bree caught the piercing gaze of the Demon Lord and tried not to meet his eyes. She was driven by fear and shame for being on the side of the people. Liam loudly declared that she was a traitor to her race. But he didn't dwell on it, so he immediately turned to Oliver. saying that he had reacted to a provocation and arrived. Oliver sovereignly asked if Liam was ready to die here. The Demon Emperor himself reacted with a grin to such self-confidence of his old acquaintance. Oliver ordered Bree to go ahead and show her abilities to the Demon Emperor. The girl got nervous and tried to somehow evade this. But the Supreme Man considered this to be ignoring his direct order and began to get angry. Bree understood that she was going to certain death, but there was no way out. She had to go and accept her fate. Accompanied by the warm wind and sakura petals, the girl approached the Demon Lord. Liam directly asked why she, being a demon, helps people commit crimes against her people. Bree asked the Demon Emperor to surrender, because in this case Oliver would spare all the demons and give them life. Liam understood why this girl betrayed her people, because she thought that in this way she would save them. She knew that people would enslave demons, so she took their side to give her race the opportunity to continue their race until better times came. But Bree's tears and good intentions did not inspire confidence in the demons. They all, as one, accused her of betrayal. The beauty understood their indignation, so she did not argue and only quietly shed a tear. Liam called his system assistant for one task. He asked Lulu to show details about Bree. Lulu raised the system window, which stated that Bree was Oliver's adopted daughter, and her combat power was 128 units. This was not enough to understand who she really was. Therefore, the Demon Lord demanded more from Lulu. But the fairy said that she had no more, to which Liam once again recognized her as a useless assistant. Little Lulu was saddened by such criticism, and the fact that the owner did not complete her tasks, which affected her level of upgrades and abilities. The Demon Emperor stated that since Bree decided to side with the people, she must now be punished for it. He asked the girl if she knew what happens to those who betray the demon race. Bree, with tears in her eyes, said that she knows that a traitor will lose his soul. Liam said that the girl will have to go through this, and she should be ready to accept her fate. Concerned, Lance asked the Supreme why he let Bree go, because it was initially clear that she wouldn't cope. To which Oliver replied that Bree was a pathetic traitor from the race of demons. For people, she is useless and means nothing, and her death is also indifferent to him. He also told Lance to only worry and care about the human race from now on. The guy listened to all this with horror and realized that the Supreme One was truly a cruel person. Liam noticed that Lance cares about her and her life is important to him. Finally, the Demon Emperor decided to ask if Bree regrets what she did. But the girl, with tears in her eyes, confidently said that she did not regret anything, because she did it for the sake of her race. Liam had no choice but to bring justice to the demon traitor and take her soul. The Demon Emperor raised his hand and aimed a ray of justice at the girl to take Bree's soul. The beauty's body flared with hot fire. She didn't even have time to utter a word before only a fragment of her dress remained, and it was already burning out. Lance and Oliver watched as not a trace remained of the girl, only the fire of the rage of the demon race. Oliver was surprised that Lance was so sad about the loss of dear Bree, but the guy quickly gathered his emotions into a fist and did not show that he was grieving. Oliver considered this a weakness, and even suggested that the young man was afraid of the Demon Emperor. The Demon Lord and the Supreme Man made eye contact and literally glared at each other. Liam stated that the human race has done a lot of bad things against his people, which is why he is here. Oliver did not hide the fact that for him, demons are despised, lower creatures, and they deserve to be destroyed. The Demon Emperor noticed that the Supreme Man's impudence and self-confidence were still the same as in the old days. Liam said that he came here to take revenge for everything and will force people to kneel before his people. Oliver stated that people are the highest form of life. That power belongs to them, and none of the people are going to submit to demons. He also reminded Liam that if humans had not spared him 100,000 years ago, all demons would have died out completely. The Supreme Man said that he couldn't even imagine Liam as the Demon Emperor. After all, even his father was far from Oliver's fighting strength. That's why he was so confident in himself. Liam admitted that his father was weak, incompetent, and modest. Such frankness pleased Oliver and pleased his pride. After all, he loved to be right and stronger than anyone. Liam fell silent for a second. Even Lulu began to worry about his emotional state. But then the Demon Lord continued. He said that although his father was weak, he had the courage to bear the heavy burden of being a Demon Lord. His father passed on all his knowledge to him and taught him to be a true emperor for his people. Liam has been accumulating hatred towards people for 100,000 years. and is now ready to take revenge for everything. But Oliver continues to claim that he is the most powerful, and even his father's scripture will not help him crush the superior human race. There was some truth in his words because only the first few demon emperors could resist the Supreme. But underestimating Liam was his big mistake. He is not like everyone else. The demon emperor showed with all his appearance that today the Supreme Man would face death. His powerful energy was felt by everyone who was present in this square. Even the demons did not expect such terrifying vibrations from their master. Oliver finally rose from his chair because he accepted this flow of energy as a call to start the battle. The Supreme Man also made it clear to his opponent that he was very powerful, and even the earth was cracking from his steps. Liam announced the start of the battle, looking into Oliver's eyes. These two super-strong life forms were ready to prove their power in a fair fight. Oliver warned Liam before he started that he would regret his impudence. After these words, the Supreme Man threw an incredibly powerful energy stream at the enemy. This technique rushed towards the Demon Emperor, crushing everything around it. The flash was so strong that everyone present was forced to close their eyes so as not to go blind. Looking at the soot of smoke after the blow, the Supreme Man decided that it was all over and even said that the fight was quite boring. His retinue admired him, but Oliver suddenly sensed that his enemy was still alive. Liam stood in the same place, only said that it hurt him a little, devaluing the enemy's technique. He asked the Supreme Man with a grin if this was all he could do. The Demon Lord had only used 1,000 layers of Demon Emperor Sutra at the moment. His strength had seriously increased. Lulu saw a scratch on the owner's face and was very surprised, because no one had managed to injure him before. Oliver, in order not to lose face, said that this is only 10% of his full strength and then more. Liam listened to this with a grin, realizing that the Supreme Man was far from his match in strength. Since Lulu couldn't see her master's fighting power, she assumed that they couldn't win the fight. Therefore, the System Fairy suggested that the Demon Lord escape while he could. Liam got angry because only weaklings and cowards run, and he's not like that anymore. He told the assistant to shut up and not interfere with her assumptions. Little Lulu decided to listen to the owner and keep quiet so as not to make him even more angry. People supported the Supreme Man with loud words. They claimed that he was invincible and everyone was behind him. The demons didn't even know how to react. They knew that their ruler was strong, but no one could yet fight back the Supreme One. Emma clenched her fists for her master and quietly believed that he could do it. Liam stood in front of the Supreme and, looking into his eyes, confidently declared that it would not be possible to kill him. Oliver thought about it, wondering what technique to use, and said that everything would work out for him. The Supreme One took off and instantly found himself behind the Demon Emperor. Although he is supreme, he is still a man, and people tend to stab in the back. Therefore, Oliver activated his powerful technique and directed it at our hero from behind. His blow was saturated with lightning and moved Liam from his place with a powerful push. The Supreme was not going to stop there, because he wanted to finish off his opponent with all his trump cards. While Liam was flying from the force of the first blow, Oliver quickly intercepted him in mid-flight. And using 13% of his strength, the Supreme Man kicked the Demon Emperor into the pile from his feet. He saw that despite this, Liam was still alive, so he decided not to stop and continue. Oliver again intercepted him in flight and punched him in the back with all his might. The blow was quite impressive. It literally sent Liam face first towards the ground. The Supreme Commander loudly voiced the percentage of his strength that goes into striking. This time it was already 50%. Rising from the ground, the Demon Emperor said with a smile that even 50% would still not kill him unless they left bruises. Suddenly, Oliver began to realize that this young man's body was very strong, and he became nervous from the realization. The Supreme Man had to resort to a very strong and energy-consuming technique to finally kill the enemy. Concentrating all his streams, Oliver pointed his fingers at Liam's chest and shot him right in the heart. The technique actually pierced the Demon Emperor right through, and so the Demon Lord fell to the ground and Oliver rejoiced, celebrating his victory. Looking at Liam's body, the Supreme said with a smile that 80% was enough to kill him. Emma could not believe that her master was no longer there. With tears in her eyes, she begged him to get up. He did not respond, so the girl ordered her warriors to fight people to the death to avenge the Demon Emperor. Representatives of the demonic race immediately reacted and rushed to attack to clear the name of their ruler in battle. But this storm of emotions was interrupted by Liam himself. He slowly rose from the ground and said that there was no need to avenge him, because he was alive. Emma and the other demons were in a stupor because they did not expect such a turn. The demon emperor stood up holding the wounded part of his body and said that he finally felt pain. Oliver opened his mouth. He was sure that he had pierced Liam's heart, so he didn't understand how he could survive. The hero explained to him that if he knew even a little about the terrifying power of the Demon Emperor Sutra, he would not be so self-confident. The Supreme decided to resort to covert scanning of the enemy to find his heart. But this did not give anything. It was as if the Demon Emperor had never had a heart. Oliver demanded an explanation of how this was even possible, but Liam made it clear that the idea of penetrating the heart for murder is very crazy. The Supreme One admitted that he had underestimated the Demon Emperor in vain and will now be more careful. He said this because he planned to use all his strength to 100% of his combat power. Oliver enchantingly and spectacularly summoned the devastating technique of blue blades, and he directed this deadly mixture directly at Liam, who calmly stood to himself. The Demon Emperor was frankly tired of this window dressing, so he decided to act. Liam used the 10,000-layer Demon Emperor Sutra to smash the Supreme's technique. This sutra, like a comet, instantly fell on those unfortunate blades and broke them into pieces. At that moment, Oliver literally felt everything shrink from fear. After all, his most powerful technique was destroyed so quickly and easily. And Liam kept throwing barbed jokes at him, saying that life sometimes turns its back on people. The Demon Emperor loudly declared that Oliver would now have to pay for all the evil he had done 100,000 years ago. For better effect or just for fun, Liam moved the Supreme to his field, which was made to look like the palace of the Demon Emperor. The Demon Lord said that 100,000 years ago Oliver captured this place, and now, ironically, this palace will become the place of his death. Liam built energy shackles, which he deftly threw over the body of the Supreme Man. Oliver tried to ask where Liam got such strength, but the hero only wished him a pleasant disappearance and oblivion in the afterlife. After these words, the shackles around the neck of the Supreme One began to tighten and strangle their victim. Literally in a matter of seconds, not a trace remained of the Supreme Oliver. The chains destroyed him. At that moment, people fell to their knees in despair, because this was the end for them. The army of demons could not get enough of it. They glorified the name of their invincible emperor with all their might and wished him long years of reign. Liam encouraged his people to rise up and be proud of their origins. For the first time in a long time, his people felt safe and could finally live normally. Meanwhile, in the system world, another meeting was taking place in order to understand the further plan of action in relation to the uncontrolled form of life. Maurice was surprised that Oliver, the highest life form of the 9th level, was vulnerable to Liam. The rest of the elders of the system world were also puzzled by this situation. Maurice asked them if it was worth waiting another month to launch the Celestial Crown. One of the system representatives agreed to the opening of the Celestial Crown on behalf of all those present. Maurice accepted their agreement and gave the command to open. He knew full well that this action would help prevent Liam from breaking the Lock of Fate. Therefore, I asked all system representatives to prepare for the opening. The system elite agreed with his words and left the meeting room. Elder Maurice suddenly wondered why problems always arise with lower life forms and how they manage to escape control. He considered science and technology to be the highest beings that control everything in this world. The rumor about the Demon Emperor reached the Heavenly Kingdom. 3 divine representatives sat in the hall, engaged in cultivation and knowledge of the world. The Supreme of the Divine Realm, Charles, voiced his feelings about the fact that the Supreme Man had fallen at the hands of Liam and asked the others what to do. The Supreme Monk of the Buddhist world, Lung, said directly that he would not be able to handle the battle with Liam. He also said that only Charles has the strength and ability to defeat him. Supreme Divine Realm Kim agreed with the monk's words, pinning all his hopes on the Supreme Divine Realm. Charles replied that 100,000 years ago he asked not to leave the boy alive, but they did not listen to him. And now that this boy has arrived with renewed vigor, everyone has their tails between their legs. Lung made the excuse that monks are supposed to be merciful, which is why he did not want to kill Liam. But Charles was not impressed by these speeches because in those days the blood of demons flowed in rivers, and there was no talk of any mercy. Lung replied that even the most sworn enemy deserves mercy, and besides, Liam was a child. Charles did not pay attention to these sermons and still blamed the monk for what happened. But the highest of the divine realm was not going to worry too much because he intended to go and kill Liam personally. Charles decided to raise the issue of sending him to the kingdom of the true God. Lung and Kim fell silent, listening carefully to their comrade and his proposals. He took the initiative in this matter, since none of the supreme deities wants to kill Liam and entrust this dirty robot to him. Consequently, Charles demanded to give up his place in the kingdom of the true God. There was a silent silence in the hall in which divine reflections were hidden. Finally, Monk Loon said that he was giving up his place in this line. Kim, too, with a sad face, was forced to concede. Charles was very happy that he had achieved understanding and received the right to enter the kingdom of the true God. The whole point is that you can get into the kingdom of the true God only once every 100,000 years. The High Monk gave up his place because he understood that Charles had to die just like Liam. Kim said to his comrades' faces that he was very happy about the start of the massacre with demons and had high hopes for humanity. But in his thoughts, he had already buried Charles and was glad to finally get rid of him. Charles himself understood everything perfectly. He knew that these two wanted to get rid of him. But over these 100,000 years, it has become much stronger, and there is simply no way to get rid of it. They sat silently for a while longer in the council chamber and began to activate teleportation techniques. A moment later, there was no one in the hall, only energy silhouettes. Meanwhile, the Demon Emperor gathered his brave warriors in the throne room for an important conversation. Emma took the floor first and reported to the ruler that after the death of the supreme man Oliver, the demons regained all their territories in one fell swoop. The Golden Tiger suggested that the Demon Lord take advantage of this opportunity and begin to exterminate the human race on a large scale. Liam said that even though Oliver is defeated, the matter will not end there because there are still other supreme people. There are a total of 7 supreme people. In order to deal with Oliver, the Demon Emperor used 15,000 layers of the Demon Emperor Sutra. Even if the remaining 6 supremes attacked together, they still would not be able to win. But besides the riding people, there are also the supreme gods. And here it was necessary to think carefully. Liam was going to challenge fate, so he ordered his warriors not to take any action against the people and not to start meaningless conflicts until he returned. The army of demons heard the instruction of their ruler and bowed to him as a sign of acceptance and obedience to his will. Hearing the order, the warriors immediately went to their positions, leaving the Demon Emperor alone with his thoughts. 100,000 years ago, the human race and the god race united to destroy the demons. Liam mentally addressed his teacher, telling him that today he had taken the first step towards reviving the demon race from the ashes. The Demon Emperor knew that it was easy to deal with the superiors of the human race, but he knew practically nothing about the god race. All that was known was that 100,000 years ago, the supreme god was much stronger than Oliver. Liam remembered his master's teachings and realized that he had clearly missed something. After all, the Demon Emperor Sutra should be limited to 100 layers, and Liam had access to superpower, and he could control it to the fullest extent. He didn't know where the line was to these possibilities and whether there might be others, but these were quite enough for now. His teacher could not even imagine that in modern times there would be systems that are embedded in bodies and control their carriers like puppets. Liam suddenly remembered his assistant and called her to talk. Lulu didn't really want to contact him again, but she had no right to refuse the owner. The Demon Emperor asked if the True God Realm was an invention of systems. But the System Fairy replied that this kingdom is much higher than the System Continent. Liam continued to ask questions. He was interested in whether the kingdom of the True God was subject to systemic control. Lulu replied that the older generation helps the strongest people reach the level of the God Realm. The Demon Lord became curious because he did not understand the true purpose of the system organization. If they have such power, then why do they need more? And where is the chapel? But Lulu was new to all this, so no one initiated her into such global issues, so she couldn't really answer. Liam suddenly began to understand that the fact is that their technological body itself has no combat effectiveness. Lulu didn't even know what to answer to this. She was literally numb from such questions and began to worry about her safety. The Demon Emperor continued to reason. He said that the system body can help the living body become stronger, but by itself it does not have any combat power. In this way, they can create various kinds of tasks, thereby controlling their master. He turned to his system assistant and asked if he was right. Lulu, with tears in her eyes, tried to explain to him that she did not know such subtleties because she was just a beginner and had not been taught this. To reach the level of such information, it needs to be updated, but it does not do this due to the refusal of the Demon Emperor to complete tasks. Liam said that he doesn't care whether she knows or not, because he intends to get to the truth himself, because he planned to personally go to the kingdom of the true God. The system fairy was surprised that her master was going to go to a place where only a select few of both carriers and systems go. The Demon Emperor knew that the people there were very strong. After all, according to Lulu's stories, Liam's continent is the lowest floor, and the kingdom of the true gods is one level higher. Lulu offered her help in creating a plan for a more comfortable passage to this level. But Liam once again rejected her help, citing the fact that he already had his own plan. The system girl was upset, but didn't say anything because she understood that she could only anger him. After the fall of the Supreme Man, people began to suffer a total collapse. Their fear of demons grew by the second. Liam presented Charles with a map with statistics, proudly declaring that demons rule the entire country. Charles did not hide the fact that he was impressed by the achievements of the Demon Emperor. He also noted that Liam is a much better emperor than all the previous ones because he managed to return almost all the demon territories under control. Patting the demon lord on the shoulder, Charles told him to enjoy this moment while he could. Liam asked why he was so confident that he could win their battle. Charles only briefly replied that there were good reasons for this. The Demon Emperor heard him and therefore ordered him to try it. Two powerful opponents rose above this world as if transported into battle space. Charles decided to say that Liam defeated Oliver not because he was very strong, but only because the Supreme Man was weak, a certain devaluation of the enemy to lower his fighting spirit. The Demon Emperor replied to his self-confident opponent that he considered him rather weak. Charles reacted to this with a loud laugh and said that he would make Liam change his mind. His eyes suddenly glowed red and lightning began to appear around him. In this way, he managed to create his field to make the enemy more vulnerable. The field took the form of a fireball and enveloped both warriors. But this did not affect Liam in any way. He even found it funny that Charles was hoping to somehow harm him with this. Charles decided to take the initiative to attack first and dealt a powerful blow to the Demon Lord in the chest, shouting loudly that he would kill him. From the impact, Liam touched the edge of the field and began to glow even more. The Divine Representative continued to attack. The next one was the Divine Punishment Technique. Lightning appeared from the depths of the heavens and headed to punish the Demon Emperor. Charles continued to overwhelm his opponent with a continuous series of attacks, and God's punishment was followed by freezing. Liam withstood all the enemy's blows with dignity. He was slightly damaged, but still stood firmly on his feet. He wiped his face and proudly said that he could not be killed so easily. The Divine Representative knew that the previous techniques would not kill Liam, so he prepared something more interesting. Charles created energy chains in which he imprisoned the Demon Emperor without the ability to escape. Having shackled Liam more tightly, he decided to beat him up in order to have fun. When the Demon Lord freed himself from the chains, Charles overtook him with a powerful kick to the face. The blow was so strong that Liam broke through the field and rushed down. He was impressed by the rock, and Charles seemed to be specially encouraging him, citing the fact that this blow was still weak. Coming to his senses, the hero admitted that falling face first into the rock was quite painful. He also admitted that the Demon Emperor Sutra, consisting of 30,000 layers, was nothing compared to such an opponent. But Liam is not like all the other emperors, so it's his turn to kick this self-confident guy in the ass. Charles grinned and gave the Demon Lord the opportunity to show off his powers. Liam stated that charity can lead to defeat of the Divine Representative. After all, everyone who considered him weak faced one end, and that was death. After these words, the clothes on the Demon Emperor's body began to burn, and his eyes were filled with hellish power. His body was transformed, and now he looked like a powerful titan from the very underworld. Charles realized that his enemy had resorted to transformation, and now he should be more careful and attentive. He was extremely interested in what Liam was capable of now after demonization. The Demon Emperor willingly began to demonstrate his capabilities because he was confident in his abilities. Liam struck the first blow to Charles, who blocked with his hands and recognized his strength as quite good, but he did not even suspect how good it was. It was very difficult to withstand the blow, because the strength of the Demon Emperor had increased tenfold. Liam continued to press with a smile, as if he was waiting for the enemy to give up. He knew that sooner or later Charles would give up his position. The divine representative recognized the fact that in addition to combat power, the demon lord's magical power had also increased. Our hero noticed the fear and surprise in Charles's eyes, so he asked what happened to his self-confidence. Liam decided not to limit himself to one blow, so he immediately moved on to the second for greater effect. Gathering his demonic power in his fist, he hit Charles with all his might, and he could no longer stay on his feet. At this moment, the divine representative realized that he had really underestimated his opponent in vain, and now intended to fight with all his might. Charles raised his hand to the heavens with the intention of summoning his powerful technique with shackles. He sent chains charged with lightning directly at Liam to limit his capabilities and give him the opportunity to attack again. But the demon emperor was even amused by this. He asked if this was all that God was capable of. After these words, the hero easily destroyed the chains, like ordinary ropes. Liam summoned a divine stream and headed to attack the enemy, who was no longer so confident. The demon emperor ordered Charles to retaliate with dignity, as befits a god. Liam approached his opponent with lightning speed and knocked him down with an incredibly powerful blow. He grabbed Charles by the head and said that this is the end. Now the moment of reckoning will come for the suffering of the demon race. A huge stream of energy appeared from the heavens, which flowed along Liam's hand towards Charles. Charles couldn't believe that Liam's demonization could be so strong. He asked how this was even possible. It is always difficult to accept defeat, especially from someone whom you naively considered weak. Liam confidently stated that this was only a small part of his strength. Probably no one could even imagine the limits of his capabilities. The demon emperor threw away the divine representative in order to prepare for his enchanting death. Liam began to call upon the demonic mandala, the sphere of the abode of divine powers, to make his techniques even more powerful. This sphere gave the already powerful demon extremely powerful powers. One demonic mandala was not enough, because the demon emperor multiplied them in order to achieve a more spectacular spectacle in battle. Liam, with a grin, recommended that the enemy transform into his divine form, because otherwise he risks dying instantly. Looking at the powerful demon lord, Charles admitted that he should not have been underestimated either in childhood or now. The demon emperor was fully prepared to attack, so he first smiled and addressed his opponent. Absorbing power from the demonic sphere, Liam told Charles to taste and feel the unbridled wrath of the demon emperor. And now the gigantic stream of anger and resentment that Liam had been accumulating within himself for all 100,000 years resulted in a powerful energy strike accompanied by lightning and thunder. Charles needed to react immediately, otherwise this storm of anger would have killed him in an instant. The stream of demonic anger continued to rush towards the divine representative, seeing no obstacles in its path. Charles had to create a protective field in the form of a huge ball in order to somehow hold back the powerful attack of the enemy. He still withstood the blow but had to transform into his divine form. The divine representative even resorted to using his most powerful weapon to dispel Liam's technique. An incredible crushing explosion resulted from the clash of techniques between two strong rivals. And now the demon emperor at the peak of demonization and the divine representative in his real guise looked into each other's eyes as equals and without contempt. Charles admitted that Liam was indeed very strong, because he had to take on his true divine form and even use the heavenly dragon spear for defense. But now that he resorted to his trump cards, for some reason he decided that he could finally kill Liam. The demon emperor asked Charles not to rush things, because they had just begun the fun and the most interesting things were ahead. Liam decided to show the enemy real military weapons, which were valued in his family and passed from hand to hand through the dynasty. He proudly pulled out a huge sword from behind his back with a red all-seeing eye. This is the most powerful weapon of his palace. It was the sword of the demon lord. Charles devalued Liam's family weapon and said that today this piece of iron will fall from the power of his sky dragon spear. Without waiting for a reaction, he threw this vaunted spear at Liam to assure the enemy of his serious intentions. The demon emperor saw that a red-hot spear was rushing towards him, but he was already prepared for it. The demon lord hit the spear with his sword to test how powerful it was. Charles thought that his enemy was fighting back with all his strength with his clumsy sword, so he mocked him with all his might. Liam was so carried away by the process that he did not react. He only briefly asked not to rush to conclusions because, as promised, the fun began. He concentrated and called on the 8,000 layers of the Imperial Sutra for help because he had already tested the capabilities of the enemy's weapons. The energy wave of the Demon Emperor Sutra was so powerful that it simply blew away this spear, and the divine representative froze in horror from shock. This attack also affected Charles himself. She literally chewed and swallowed him. Liam watched the flow of the sutra carry the divine representative into the sunset, and even for a moment thought that he had gotten rid of him. But suddenly someone appeared from the source of the explosion, and our hero immediately noticed it. Charles used his most powerful technique. He even had to change his appearance a little. It was as if a mixture of a monk and a knight magically merged into a divine representative and decided to fight back their opponent. Charles admitted that he uses a literal last resort, so Liam can consider himself great. After these words, he again attacked the Demon Emperor with his spear, but this time with a much greater scope of force. Our hero reacted instantly, sending 90,000 layers of the Demon Emperor Sutra in response. An incredible stream of sutra headed straight into the throat of the heavenly dragon to tear it apart. Liam simply floated and watched what was happening, because he was confident of success. Like seething lava, this stream of energy enveloped the divine spear. Charles could not believe his eyes because his self-confidence and arrogance were broken in exactly the same way as his vaunted spear. Even through the soot of smoke, the Demon Emperor saw fear in the eyes of the enemy. Liam directly stated that Charles lost this fight, and there is nowhere else to go. He just needs to humbly accept his fate. The divine representative asked where Liam got so much power. After all, he used his heavenly spear, which has no equal, and even the strongest technique of the solar whirlwind, received in the kingdom of the true God, did not work. The Demon Emperor did not answer this rhetorical question and allowed the enemy to say the last words. While Charles was thinking, Liam admitted to himself that the Demon Emperor Sutra had exceeded all his expectations in battle. The divine representative was not going to push righteous speeches and simply asked to kill him since he lost. Liam, as a good emperor, had no right to refuse the request of an old acquaintance, so he did what Charles asked. Literally, in an instant, there was no trace left of God. Now the old grievances against God have disappeared along with him. Those demons whom he destroyed, of course, cannot be returned. But it is still a little easier. And so, when the duel was over and the arrogant deity received what he deserved, the demon lord set himself a new goal, namely the kingdom of the true God. While Lulu watched her master destroy higher life forms, she received a notification from the system center. She took the gadget in her hands and read that the system crown was activated. It also said that at the moment the download process is only 1% out of 100. At the conclusion of this great battle, Liam returned to his palace and ordered the army to appear in the throne room. Since he decided to go to the kingdom of the true God, he ordered his subjects not to start meaningless wars with people and to maintain order in the territories of demons. The soldiers took into account the order of their master and promised to follow his instructions in his absence. Emma decided to take the floor and asked the Demon Emperor what kind of place this true God realm is and why it is so important for the master. She only knew that it was very dangerous there, so she expressed her worries to the Demon Lord. But the girl also understood that Liam was firm in his decisions, so she did not dissuade him from the idea, but only wished him to return safely. The Demon Emperor arrived at the gates of the treasured kingdom above the waters of the Black Sea. He was met by Lun and Kim. Their faces were alarmed because they did not expect to see their enemy alive. Liam informed the divine representatives about the death of Charles. Monk Lun replied that since Charles did not become a worthy opponent, then the Demon Lord can be considered the most powerful in this world. Our hero decided to remind the gods of the times when they mercilessly exterminated his people of demons. He also said that at that time they probably didn't even have thoughts about the doomsday of retribution. While Kim was trembling with fear, Long took the floor and said that if he had known at that time how this would all turn out, he would not have attacked the demon race. But since this happened, the monk asked to simply kill them and not demand an explanation. It didn't take long to persuade Liam. He didn't need new obstacles to his goal, so he agreed with the request of the divine monk. With one movement of his hand, the demon emperor made the divine representatives feel all the pain of the demon race and his own in a second. He sent their pathetic souls into oblivion without a doubt. And then the moment came when Liam was already very close to the gates of the kingdom of the true God. It was only necessary to enter there and learn many hidden secrets. But is it really that simple? Liam extended his hand to the entrance, and the door, accompanied by lightning, opened in front of him, allowing him to enter. What was behind the door was not known, but it was precisely this uncertainty that attracted him. The demon emperor could not believe that he had reached a place that was inaccessible to his predecessors. He even began to be shrouded in doubts, because the new, although beautiful, sometimes still frightens with its unpredictability. Liam closed his eyes to calm down bad thoughts and pulled himself together. He decided that he was ready for anything and would not give up on his goal. Therefore, the demon emperor and his little companion walked through the prism of the mysterious realm of the true God. Lulu kept looking at her gadget. She was a little scared by the fact that her superiors decided to reboot this world. The system fairy saw that the heavenly crown was loaded at 5%, but still didn't know how to tell the owner about it or whether it was even worth it. In the new territory, a representative of the local fauna was already watching the hero in the bushes. It was a huge scorpion, which had already decided to have a snack and jumped out of the bushes to attack. Lulu warned the owner about the scorpion, but also said that it was not particularly dangerous for him. Liam didn't even turn around to look at him. He simply raised his hand and threw him away. The demon emperor asked his companion whether there could be inhabitants like humans or demons in this world. Lulu pulled up the database to look at the statistics. It was said there that in the Scarlet Ghostly Clearing there are only animals that are easy to deal with. The system fairy could only see creatures nearby, and among them now there are no ones who could pose any threat to the owner. Liam listened to her and accepted the information, but still wondered who else lived on these lands. But in order not to torment himself with fantasies, our hero decided to go further and personally examine everything here. After some time, they reached buildings similar to an ordinary city. Lulu raised her database, and it turned out that this city is called Fengluo. The population is unknown, and ghosts live here, whose combat power is still inferior to the demon emperor. Liam reviewed the information provided by the assistant and became convinced that there was no danger for him here either. In order not to waste time, he decided to go to the nearest building to get to know the locals better. Warriors stood guard at the city gates and did not want to let the stranger inside. Liam realized that there are some rules here, and apparently, strangers are not welcome here. But still he needed to get to the ghostly city of Fengluo. The demon emperor tried to politely explain to the guard that he really needed to come in. The guard did not appreciate the good thoughts and still did not intend to fulfill the stranger's whim. Therefore, Liam told him directly that if he resisted, he would die. The guard laughed in his face, saying that the stranger would not be able to kill the ghost soldier. To show his serious intentions, the demon emperor demonstrated his demonic energy to the guard of this city. The ghostly warrior saw that this was not a person in front of him, so he immediately fell to his knees. Liam asked if he could now enter without unnecessary fuss and killing. The guard bowed to the demon and allowed him to cross the city gates without hindrance. He politely opened the door like a doorman and asked the guest to enter. The city of Fengluo was seething with its ghostly life inside. There were a lot of people everywhere, and the streets were well lit with soft blue lanterns. The locals immediately noticed the newly arrived guest and began to take a closer look at him. When the ghostly bull saw the hero, he licked his lips. After all, it's been a long time since someone visited the ghost town. Therefore, he decided to take advantage of this rare opportunity and attack Liam. But the demon emperor again did not even turn around and simply destroyed the inhospitable bull with one click. When the others saw the power of the guest, they immediately began to run away in hysterics, so as not to fall out of favor too. After such a meeting, Liam laughed out loud, feeling what the afterlife is like in the kingdom of the true God. The news about the new arrival spread very quickly. Even at the very top of the city, everyone already knew. The mighty ghost emperor Yaksha on the top of the cliff also felt the presence of someone new. His subjects decided to look into this and find out everything. But Yaksha wanted to meet him personally and find out everything. The emperor decided to take his weapons for a warmer reception. For some reason, Yaksha was sure that a man had come to them who could be eaten, and he was incredibly happy about this. Liam, meanwhile, calmly wandered through the streets of the city. He thought for a moment that since this was the afterlife, there was an opportunity to find his teacher here. After he thought about this, he immediately called his system assistant threateningly. Poor Lulu almost lost the bolts from fright. Liam asked if she could find information about his teacher since they are now in the afterlife. The system fairy explained to the owner that this is not quite the afterlife. It's kind of like Liam's world, but on a lower level. The Demon Emperor realized that he was a little mistaken in his assumptions, but he understood the information provided by Lulu. He was walking carefree around the city when suddenly some kind of portal opened in front of him. The Emperor of the ghostly city Yaksha himself appeared through the portal, looking at the guest with contempt and curiosity. Approaching Liam, he suddenly realized that in front of him was not a person but a demon. The Emperor of the Ghost City hoped to taste human flesh, but the fact that the guest was slightly of the wrong race did not bother him. Although demon meat tasted sour, his eyes still burned with the desire to get enough of it. After all, it doesn't matter whether it's a demon or a person, you can still eat, because in his eyes they are all food. Yaksha waved his staff and approached the Demon Emperor closely. He grabbed Liam by the throat but suddenly felt an extremely strong energy that resisted. The Demon Emperor instantly slipped out of Yakshi's hands and jumped back. The Emperor of the Ghost Town suddenly realized that this demon was not like the previous ones and would have to work hard to eat it. Yaksha decided to take action, so he waved his staff and directed the ghostly technique at the guest. Liam only watched with interest because even here he has no equal in strength. The Emperor of the Ghost City realized that his attack with a magical weapon was blocked and was very surprised that someone could do it. Yaksha did his job and jumped to the side, looking with interest at the one who fought back such a strong technique without any problems. Meanwhile, Liam suddenly felt a strange pain in his heart. This had never happened before. It's like a bolt of lightning is tormenting his heart from the inside. The pain was quite strong and unusual. The Demon Emperor was scared for a second. The hero suddenly realized that the weapon of this ghost could cause direct damage to the soul, and found this a rather interesting experience. Following his logic, Yaksha assumed that Liam had protective treasures since he was able to fight back. But the Demon Emperor explained with a grin that it was not only Fengluo treasures that could withstand a soul attack. The Emperor of the Ghost Town realized that this stranger was not so simple and it was better to get out of here, so he quickly decided to hide in his portal. Yaksha had already activated the portal and was halfway to escape. But Liam wasn't going to just let go of someone who wanted to kill him, so he told him to come back. Yaksha did not listen and disappeared into the portal, but the Demon Emperor stuck his hand into it. The hero easily got the Emperor of the Ghost City out of there and grabbed him by the neck so that he would not run away anywhere. Liam, literally with one hand without much effort, incinerated Yaksha and sent it into the wind. As soon as the Emperor of the Ghost City died, some mysterious stone appeared in his place. Liam looked at it and couldn't understand what it was. He decided to take the stone in his hands in order to better examine and understand its essence. But as soon as the stone was in the hands of the Demon Emperor, it immediately fell into fragments. Among all the fragments, only one was standing. It sparkled, and even Lulu decided to take a look. The system assistant analyzed the item and found that it was a Fengluo fragment. Liam asked her what this meant because the wording of the analysis was supposed to be sparse. Lulu explained that in this city, if you kill a ghost of a certain level, you will receive a shard that corresponds to its level, and the fragments themselves are a piece of the key to unlocking the secret treasure of Fenlo. The Demon Emperor suddenly remembered the Minotaur he killed first. It seemed to be of an insufficient level since nothing fell out of it. Liam deduced that the more creatures in this city you kill, the more shards can be used to open the treasure. Lulu confirmed his suspicions by nodding in response. The Demon Emperor realized that the more fragments, the closer the treasure. But these games with the lives of local ghosts made him feel sick and disgusted. Liam decided not to stand still and move on to find out as much as possible about this Fenlo. The locals no longer stuck their heads out because they were afraid to say goodbye to their lives when the hero passed by. Meanwhile, in the Fenel Temple, everyone was already on their ears because of the new visitor to the city. Lucius was furious that a treasure hunter had come to his lands again. After all, for many centuries, their illusory kingdom has been destroyed for the sake of these treasures, and they still cannot get enough. He gathered a council of demons and asked their opinions on the current situation. One of the advisors reported that the Demon Emperor who came this time was significantly different from the past. This one is very strong, and he easily managed to kill Emperor Yaksha. Lucius said that he was equal in strength to Yaksha, so he also would not survive this battle. The advisors had nothing to add. The situation was heating up. They silently waited for a decision from their ruler, because if the situation is not resolved, then something terrible will happen. Lucius looked at their sad faces and said that he could not just sit and wait for his death. The advisor asked whether there would be orders for further action. He replied that he wanted to go and meet this demon emperor in person. Advisors began to dissuade him because he was directly connected with the Fenglo Temple, and if something happened to him, everything would collapse. Lucius reassured them. He said that they needed to be well prepared for this meeting, and if the demon emperor wants to kill him, he will have to try hard. Liam, meanwhile, wandered around the city and enjoyed the views. Fengluo is truly a wonderful place and quite unusual. The demon lord really wanted his people to also visit here and also see the local color. While the hero was walking, he noticed some strange light that seemed to beckon him. The light was like a guide, and Liam followed him with interest. This unusual guide led the demon emperor to the illusory forest. And behind the forest, there was a large lake on which a ghostly boatman was already waiting for him. The boatman swam closer and politely asked Liam to sit down for a more convenient crossing. The demon emperor instantly jumped from the shore onto the boat and ordered the bony one to row towards the temple. The boatman carefully lowered his oar into the lake, and the boat, as if enchanted, set off to its destination. Through the fog above the lake, the huge Fenglo temple was visible, and Liam looked at it with curiosity. When the demon emperor arrived at the temple, everyone was already waiting for him. Lucius, sitting on his throne, greeted him. Liam also politely greeted everyone back. Lucius asked him directly why everyone was so obsessed with this treasure. Why, for his sake, do they come here again and again, kill his people, and destroy this world? But the demon emperor did not understand what he was talking about. Lucius admitted that Liam is the strongest of all who came here. He also said that Fengluo's treasure would not bring him much benefit and asked him to leave the place alone. Lulu and Liam were simply shocked that the demon emperor was considered some kind of supervillain here. Liam explained that he didn't intentionally kill anyone here. The Minotaur and Yaksha attacked first, so he was forced to defend himself. One of the advisors could not stand it and said that the demon emperor was talking nonsense. He simply felt very sorry for Emperor Yaksha because he had been through so much. Yaksha's father, wife, and children were killed by invaders from the world of Liam. Therefore, he fell into deep despair, and his advisor blamed the demon emperor for this, because creatures from his world had been shedding the blood of local residents here for many centuries. Lucius intervened in this and ordered the advisor to be silent so as not to provoke a conflict ahead of time. Liam asked Lulu if she had information about these incidents because he really wanted to understand what was happening here before his arrival. But the system fairy said that she did not have such information. It's too difficult for her level. Lucius said that the demon emperor is very strong, and it will be difficult for him to fight him, but for the sake of Fengluo City, he is willing to stand to the end. He suddenly began to release some kind of gloomy, ghostly technique that covered everything in darkness. The advisor supported him and also began to put effort into this technique. But Liam stopped them. He said that he did not intend to kill Lucius at all. He explained that he just wanted to know about everything that happened in this city before him. As Lucius heard this, he immediately ordered the guests to sit down and listen carefully. The advisors were shocked. They did not expect that the Lord of the Temple would abandon the attack plan, but Lucius ordered them to leave and leave them alone without witnesses. They sat down comfortably and began to talk. Lucius said that it all started 500,000 years ago. One day, a crowd of uninvited guests suddenly burst into Fengluo City. They called this place the Kingdom of the True God. All their actions were aimed at killing local residents and stealing treasures. Thanks to the city's fighting strength, the locals easily repelled most of the invaders, but still some of them managed to escape from the Fengluo treasures. Lucius said that since then, every 100,000 years people come here and carry out merciless massacres. This makes him very angry, because Fengluo has existed for 500,000 years and has always maintained peace without provoking conflicts. But this group of people brings only disasters. It is very difficult for locals to reproduce because it takes at least tens of thousands of years to give birth to a child. These incessant killings caused enormous damage to the city. Liam interrupted him because he wanted to find out why, having good warriors, Lucius could not repel people on his own. He explained that the city of Fengluo rests on him and the power of the ghost emperors. Therefore, he is unable to leave the city. As soon as he leaves the city, it will immediately collapse, and the invaders will not miss this chance. Liam understood why Lucius invited him here. It was all for safety. Lucius confirmed his guesses because he already knew in advance that the Demon Emperor was much stronger. Liam called Lulu to express his thoughts on her existence. He said that he was increasingly convinced that the kingdom of the true god was invented by systems, but the system fairy tried to explain that she knew nothing about this. Liam asked Lucius if he knew about the existence of systems and their influence on these worlds. But the ruler of the temple was confused by such a question. Liam assumed that his new acquaintance was not aware of the systems, so he asked if he had thought about why strangers came to his city, and why their appearance repeats every 100,000 years. Lucius closed his eyes sadly and said that he had always wondered about this, but had never found the answer. The Demon Emperor said that the local residents should not worry about his coming, because he did not come to the realm of the true god for mass genocide. Lucius thanked Liam for this, and the hero himself suddenly thought that if all this was planned by the systems, then their power is really great, and for them all, creatures are puppets. He also explained that Fennel is not a divine realm. This is the same world as his, just of a lower level. Liam once again asked for forgiveness for killing Yaksha. Lucius said that everything was fine and the topic was closed. Finally, the Demon Emperor bowed and said that he had to go because he had plans to find out something else. Lucius bowed back and politely bid farewell to his guest. The Demon Lord immediately left the reception hall of the Temple Lord, and as soon as he left, Lucius's face suddenly changed to a sly smile. He chuckled as if he had fooled a child. But the joy did not last long because Liam returned. When the Demon Emperor found himself behind Lucius, he asked in shock why he had returned. The Demon Lord replied that he had thought about it and decided to discuss something else with him. The ruler of the temple in horror began to claim that he had not lied to him. That's where I got burned because Liam didn't say a word about lying. Therefore, our hero began to attack him in order to bring him to light. This drove Lucius into an even greater stupor because he did not understand why the Demon Emperor returned then. The Temple Lord used his sword to defend himself, but Liam skillfully blocked the blows. From his hands, Lucius's sword crumbled into pieces. The hero demanded that his new acquaintance turn on his abilities to the fullest. Liam began to attack further to force him to open up. The battle was brutal because the Lord of the Temple was defeated on all fronts and flew away in pain from the slightest blow from the Demon Emperor. But Liam clearly knew what he was doing, so he didn't stop but continued to attack. Lucius tried to defend himself and asked why the Demon Emperor was pursuing him. Liam answered him directly that he knew about his cooperation with the systems. The ruler of the temple claimed that he had no idea who the systems were. The hero answered sarcastically that he willingly believed in this lie and hid him properly. The Demon Emperor persistently demanded that Lucius show his weapon in full power. When Liam once again hit the Lord of the Temple, his chest began to shine with bright fire. This fire remained on the hero's hand and had already acquired a green color. He began to examine it because the technique was very interesting. The Demon Emperor tried to put out the flames, but this only made them burn with greater intensity. Lucius continued to claim that he did not know about the systems. He also spoke about this flame, which is the fire of his heart and soul. Fengluo City will not be destroyed until the flames go out. The green flames of the Temple Lord's heart and soul turned into ghostly snakes that attacked Liam. Lucius proudly declared that the Demon Emperor would die today from these flames. He activated this technique to its full potential and magically rushed to attack Liam. The hero continued to examine the fire and stated with a grin that no matter how hard Lucius tried, the flames could not harm him. While the Temple Lord roared in anger, the Demon Emperor said that his patience had come to an end. Raising his hand up, Liam resorted to his favorite family weapon. The sword of the Demon Emperor from his all-seeing eye was already in his hand a second later. This sword of justice made even God repent, so there is no doubt about its power. Liam swung his sword and sent a crushing energy wave towards Lucius. Lucius had to use literally everything he had. We even had to create more hands and stock up on some defensive attributes. Like a helpless spider in front of the fire of death, he waved his arms and tried to create resistance. The Lord of the Temple, with hope and faith, activated his flame of heart and soul with renewed vigor, and having collected all his weapons in a heap, he rushed headlong to attack the Demon Emperor. Liam grabbed his family sword tighter and decided to show what the Demon Emperor's weapon was capable of. As always, with a calm and confident face, the hero stuck the sword into the ground, so that the energy of the demon began its path of destruction literally from the foundation of this temple. The stone cover of the floor trembled and began to crack from the power of this force, and Lucius froze in horror. A stream of demonic energy from Liam's sword burst out and lit up the entire temple area like fireworks. The advisors to the ruler of the temple watched this and realized that their affairs were bad since it had come to this. Still, Liam was right about the cooperation between Lucius and the systems. After all, the system assistant to the Lord of the Temple, Murina, was with him all this time and assessed her master's rival with a grin. Liam saw her and immediately became completely convinced that he was right. Lulu completely froze at this moment because she did not expect such a turn of events. Liam looked menacingly at his assistant, clearly suspecting her involvement, but she desperately insisted that she didn't know about it. The Demon Emperor directly contacted Lucius's system assistant. Since the true kingdom of the gods was truly created by systems, he was interested in hearing from its representative about the true purpose of this plan. But in response, system assistant Lucius only laughed and crossed her arms to summon the control technique. Like a skilled puppeteer, she instantly took possession of her owner's body, creating systemic control threads. The body of the Temple Lord no longer belonged to him because his system fairy penetrated him like a fungus. From such a union, Lucius's body mutated and some parts of his body were modified into systemic ones. Moray Eel from the body of its owner turned to Liam. She recognized him as a strong opponent, but asked him not to console himself with the hope of victory over the systems. She pointed Lucius's hand at the Demon Emperor and fired a lightning bolt. Liam did not expect that they were able to control the host's body completely and without his will. Moray continued to speak. She said that the Demon Emperor managed to achieve the 10th life form. But in the eyes of the systems, he is nothing more than an insect that she is going to crush. She slapped him with all her might and said that he was just a non-entity. With hatred, Morena continued to beat him and shout that he was a non-entity. This is the third blow and the third statement that he is nobody for the systems. Moray waved and said that such an insignificant life form must disappear. Liam stopped her blow with one touch and asked if she had played enough. The Demon Emperor said that she does not know about the 10th level of life or any others, but she knows for sure that Morena is not his opponent. After these words, he hit Lucius's body in the stomach with all his strength, so much so that his system assistant flew out of him whistling like a filthy tick. The body of the Temple Lord fell to the ground, and Moray, by inertia, flew straight towards Liam. Our hero grabbed this self-confident upstart and squeezed it tightly in his hand. He squeezed her tighter and asked again what the main purpose of the system world was. Moray answered through pain that he still would not be able to defeat the systems because the Celestial Crown had already been launched. Liam didn't listen any further and simply crushed her in his hand like a bug. After that, he turned to Lulu and asked what kind of heavenly crown it was. She didn't have time to answer, but her eyes showed a load that had reached 50%. The Demon Emperor suddenly turned his attention to Lucius, whose body was lying on the ground of the temple. He didn't want him to die, at least not now, so he resorted to healing techniques. The advisors decided to urgently intervene because they were afraid of losing their lord of the temple. Therefore, they burst into the hall and demanded that Liam immediately release Lucius. The Demon Emperor told them not to interfere in this and just stand by silently. The advisors did not know how to react, because they understood that they could not help in any way. When Lucius suddenly came to his senses, he did not expect Liam to save his life, so he was surprised. The hero briefly answered that the Lord of the Temple is only useful to him while he is alive. He also asked Lucius how long ago the system penetrated his body, because he wanted to restore the entire chronology for himself and understand a lot. While the Demon Emperor was learning the immense secrets of the universe, chaos was happening in his domain. A year has already passed since Liam went to the kingdom of the true God. His warriors gathered for a council, because in this short time the strength of the people had seriously increased, and many strong masters appeared among them. The Golden Tiger did not understand why the human race was developing at such an unimaginable speed and shared his experiences with his comrades. Emma also didn't know why this was happening, but she knew that, despite everything, they must wait for the return of their master and not act recklessly, because that's the order. While the demons were inactive, their lands again suffered raids from people who destroyed everything around them. The human race once again managed to sow fear and chaos in the territories of demons. It seemed that there were no barriers for them. Any demon on their way was weak for them, as if killing these creatures was a game for them. They earned points, thanks to which they would be able to buy back many valuable things and treasures upon returning to their sex. Therefore, the lives of demons for people have become fun and an opportunity to earn extra money. Meanwhile, in the system world, there was again a meeting about downloading a last resort measure to get rid of the threat. Morris watched this process and rejoiced that the heavenly crown was almost opened. The demon emperor sat opposite the ghostly council and the lord of their temple, talking about all the meanness of the system beings. Lucius already had an epiphany because he considered himself the chosen one, but turned out to be a puppet in the hands of the system. Liam also told them that this kingdom of the true God is just an improved copy of his continent. The advisors became furious at such information because they were all controlled like toys, without putting their lives at anything. Lucius did not understand how to proceed. Even if they knew the truth, would they be able to resist such powerful creatures? But Liam asked them not to doubt their own strengths because although the systems have influence, they themselves do not have combat power and therefore are very vulnerable. He also said that if the lair of these technological bodies can be found, then it will be quite possible to destroy them all. Lucius was the first to volunteer to assist the demon emperor if there was such a need. Also, the ruler of the temple took out some mysterious box and handed it to Liam. This was the secret treasure of Fengluo City that people were chasing so hard. Lucius decided to give it to his savior. The demon emperor was flattered by such a gesture, and yet he was somehow uncomfortable accepting such a valuable gift. But still, the time has come to say goodbye. Liam asked Lucius to be careful and take care of himself, and then said that it was time for him to go back to his world. The ruler of the temple bowed with gratitude to his new friend and wished him success. And literally in an instant, the demon emperor disappeared, leaving the ghostly people thinking about everything that happened. Lucius exhaled heavily because he did not expect that so much would come to light and how much still remained to be learned. Liam again found himself at the gates of the kingdom of the true God, but they were no longer as mysterious as the first time. He suddenly felt something strange, as if the aura of his palace had become very weak. This feeling began to seriously bother him. The hero called Lulu and ordered to show the information panel of the Demon Emperor Hall. She obediently carried out his will, but the data were not joyful. After all, the level of the palace fell from 9,999 to 999. The combat power weakened, and the state of the palace was in danger of collapse. Liam asked her what could have happened in such a short time, but the system fairy fearfully said that she didn't know anything. Therefore, the Demon Emperor decided not to waste time devaluing the system trainee, but immediately went to resolve the situation on his own. Lulu, meanwhile, looked anxiously at the loading panel of the Heavenly Crown because it had already reached 75%. People had already reached the palace of the Demon Emperor and were looking at every stone, anticipating what the spoils would be. Everyone has already calculated in their mind how many points they can earn to buy treasures in their sex, when suddenly the sky began to shine and a crowd of imposters saw the Demon Emperor himself. Liam did not understand what happened while he was not in the palace and how the human race got so many masters, but he suspected that this might be the work of the system. The Demon Emperor landed majestically in front of his domain, shielding his warriors who were overjoyed at his return. He saw the state of his warriors, so he used a healing technique on them to help restore their strength. Liam ordered them to tell them in detail about everything that happened here, but instead the warriors began to bow and ask him for forgiveness for their incompetence. He still insisted that he stop making excuses and get to the heart of the matter. Suddenly, his conversation was interrupted by some boor of the human race, who poked him with a sword right in the back. A friend of this impudent one decided to warn his friend about the Demon Emperor's restoration skill. But he did not see it as a problem to challenge the Demon Lord because, according to him, he trained a lot and hard like everyone else. Liam heard their conversation and suddenly understood what was going on here and what kind of training they were talking about. After all, the systems did the same thing to his possessions as they did to the ghostly city of Fengluo. In a fit of anger, Liam took out his sword of the Demon Emperor, a family legacy with which he killed the god himself. Representatives of the human race froze at what they saw. The beauty and power of this weapon made them admire. But everyone has already scanned its characteristics for themselves. It turns out that the Demon Emperor's sword is a special item of the 100th level, which can be exchanged for high-level martial arts. That same impudent man from the crowd of people ran out to Liam shouting that he would take the sword for himself. The Demon Emperor concentrated energy into the sword, and in one fell swoop, even without touching the person, made him squint back from such force. The poor fellow felt with his whole body what the Lord of Darkness was capable of, because his energy blocked the enemy's body instantly. Liam stood with a sword in his hand, full of anger and contempt for the human race and the systems that sent them here. The rest of the treasure hunters finally realized that the Demon Emperor was far from being level 100, but much higher. But their pitiful brains are not able to comprehend the limits of the power of the highest form of life. Therefore, they recklessly decided to attack him with the whole crowd for greater efficiency, naive little people. After all, as soon as they approached Liam, he made them burn in the hellfire of demonic malice. The human race, due to its greed and gluttony, has become trapped in its own temptations. The sword they so desired to obtain took their lives. As soon as Liam dealt with the first batch of people, a new portal immediately opened in the sky. The Demon Emperor and his warriors angrily watched to see who would emerge from this portal this time. These were the disciples of the Water Spirit sect. They were happy that the first group from the Red Flame sect had been destroyed. After all, now all the treasures could go to them, but they understood that it was better not to underestimate the enemy. One of the students was happy that now all the points would go to them, but her older sister told her not to be careless and to soberly assess her capabilities. The girls discussed the level of the Demon Emperor among themselves. They assumed that he was somewhere around level, but one of them completed level 150 tasks, so she was considered successful. The disciples of the Water Spirit sect grinned and called Liam a small and weak emperor who should not be feared. He heard this and decided to show these arrogant girls his size in battle. The girls rushed in a crowd to attack Liam, calling him demonic evil spirits. They wanted to destroy the despised race in their opinion, and the Demon Emperor laughed in response at the ridiculous name-calling. Above Liam's head, a technique was already being created to defeat him from the clones of the elder sister from the Water Spirit sect. She confidently stated that she would personally kill him without an iota of regret. But the Demon Emperor did not consider her worthy to die under his sword, so he decided to fight with his bare hands. The beauty was furious in earnest. She used her most powerful technique to win. The other students realized that their elder sister decided to finish off the Demon Lord as quickly as possible, so she used her special Shadow Strike technique. The girl tried to surround Liam with her powerful technique to quickly neutralize him, but he activated his demonic energy. She was filled with confidence in victory and wished the Demon Emperor a quick death. But our hero cannot be taken so easily. His energy easily stopped the imposter's technique. Liam watched with a grin at the expression on the face of the confused student of the Water Spirit sect, who clearly did not expect to see resistance. She even suggested that Liam had some kind of protective artifacts. But this even encouraged the treasure hunter. She was pleasantly surprised that the Demon Emperor had some other valuable things besides the sword. In a fit of excitement and desire to earn extra money, the student of the Water Spirit sect took out her blade and rushed to attack Liam fully armed. The Demon Emperor was already accustomed to self-confident, impudent people who did not value his abilities, so he simply silently activated the demonic technique. He directed this clot of energy force at the girl while standing still, because he was used to acting and not scattering words to the wind. The beauty didn't even have time to blink an eye before Liam's technique had already knocked her out. All her sisters had already begun to worry because she was one of the strongest in the sect. The elder sister let her companions know that everything was fine with her. It's just that in her thoughts she was replaying how much she had miscalculated in assessing the enemy's level. At first, she believed that Liam was somewhere around level 120, but after the fight she assumed that his level was close to the girl realized that it would not be so easy to deal with him, so she decided to use one of her trump cards. She took out a pearl with a bright glow, which helped her heal all her wounds and restore her strength after the blow. The sect student looked at Liam with a smile and asked how he liked her magic little thing, but the demon emperor did not react to this. The younger sisters said that this is a water cloud bead, which is a magical treasure. With the help of this little thing, you can instantly heal your wounds. The demon emperor was amused by this attitude towards the dubious item they were so proud of. The girl told Liam that this water cloud bead contains the power of life. She also self-confidently stated that as long as she owns this bead, she is considered immortal, and advised the demon emperor not to resist, but to surrender. Liam, as always, silently got down to business. He instantly reacted to her words and overtook the student of the water spirit sect with his strong blow. The girl did not expect this, because the attack was so lightning fast that she did not even have time to dodge or simply react. Following this, an imperial kick to the face was used. Liam approached and said that he was curious to see how immortal the girl was. He also said that he wanted to know how long she could withstand his beatings. In order for the sect disciple to take his words seriously, the demon emperor grabbed her by the neck. Raising the insolent girl above him, he squeezed her neck to such an extent that due to lack of air, the veins on her face were already swollen. Liam also used his demonic energy to make the imposter feel pain in every cell of her body. Her sisters were very worried, but they were still afraid to interfere because their strength was not enough to intercede or fight back. The elder sister in the hands of the demon emperor decided to tell him that he was very cruel. But Liam replied that she herself had come into the clutches of a merciless and evil demon who was worthy of his name. Then he let go of her neck and kicked the girl away from him. At the moment when you lose, you always hope for the mercy of your opponent, forgetting about your previous cruelty towards him. Liam turned to the girl. He said that he was interested in cutting her body and seeing if she would be reborn after that. When the student of the water spirit sect saw his sword, she realized that he was not joking and could well do it, so she began to beg for mercy. In complete despair, the girl cried and asked the demon emperor to stop. Liam looked at her with contempt and arrogantly asked if she was really afraid of death. The beaten and frightened girl declared that she was giving up and asked not to kill her. The demon lord agreed without further ado. He generously extended his hand to her. She certainly did not expect such an act from a cruel hater of the human race, so she was very surprised. But all generosity ended when Liam explained that he was waiting for the girl to give him this precious bead. She had no other choice because her life was at stake, so the girl silently put her hand to her chest to remove the bead. She obediently handed the bead to the demon emperor. He took what he wanted and began to explore the possibilities of the new artifact. He wanted to change its name from Water Spirit Bead to Demon Emperor Bead. And Liam ordered the girl to get out of here immediately and never even think about his palace again, let alone come close. The disciple of the Water Spirit sect gathered her younger sisters and immediately left so as not to tempt fate. Looking at the trail of the closing portal, the hero indignantly condemned the systems for turning his house into a kind of game. He also came to the conclusion that he needed to develop his forces to defeat the next enemy. It was necessary to find a more powerful breakthrough in cultivation to maintain the invincible status. Emma and the rest of the warriors joyfully praised their lord for his power. He did not share their joy, and openly said that he was dissatisfied with all the consequences of his absence because a bunch of people destroyed everything here and suppressed his army. They did not know what to answer because they tried to follow his instructions not to get into trouble with people. Therefore, they simply remained silent in embarrassment and waited for further instructions from their disgruntled emperor. But Liam is cruel only to those who harm his people, and he treated his warriors with a new bead. The demon emperor ordered to finish today's business and gather in the throne room tomorrow. The warriors bowed to him as a sign of respect for his will and gratitude for the healed wounds. He headed to his throne, sat down comfortably to think everything over carefully. All these events tired him greatly. Suddenly, Liam's rest was interrupted by Lulu, who wanted to tell him something. The demon emperor turned to her displeasedly and asked what she wanted. The system fairy still didn't dare say anything, but she really wanted to, when suddenly her body began to vibrate and disintegrate into pieces, as if she was evaporating. Liam asked in bewilderment what was happening to her. With the last of her strength, Lulu told her owner that the heavenly crown was already 100% open. After these words, The system fairy disappeared, leaving the demon emperor in bewilderment. He didn't understand at all what had just happened and where Lulu had gone. A system notification suddenly appeared above his head that the celestial crown had been opened and his system had started updating. Liam was transported to some kind of system area. He was trying to understand what update he was talking about. Only the update download percentages were displayed around it. Next, a system notification appeared, which stated that the intellectual body was out of control. Because of this, the forced destruction mode is activated. Suddenly, somewhere not far from him, Liam recognized the cry of Lulu, whom he always called the little one. The system decided to destroy her too, so Lulu asked him for help not as a master, but as an older brother. Liam didn't understand what was happening and what the essence of the system plan was since they decided to get rid of their representative. The baby had almost disappeared. She asked for help with frightened eyes. At this moment, the demon emperor did not care about the system's plans because he had been through a lot with Lulu and was not going to let her disappear. He asked how he could help her. The little girl replied that she needed to use his energy. Liam understood the essence of the matter and immediately got down to business without further ado, directing energy flows to Lulu. The system alert notified that there was energy interference. The demon emperor told his little one not to dare die. He tried his best to support the life of his companion. The energy flows intensified. Formatting Lulu failed and the system window notified about it. After this, a bright light appeared and the baby acquired a new shape, a more pumped-up body. Liam looked at her new face and concluded that she still managed to survive and renew herself. The flash went out and our guys were transported to their old world. Liam stood in his throne room and looked at his assistant. Lulu did not understand whether the update was successful because her appearance became the same. The demon emperor was surprised that the system's upgrades were affecting their appearance. Lulu addressed Liam in a dear voice, calling him Big Brother. He didn't understand why she was so alarmed, but assumed it was because of the update. But the little girl said that this had nothing to do with it, and she simply had endless respect for him. She decided to show the demon emperor his new characteristics. In this data, it was said that Liam is a Sky Fate-level disciple, and his vital body is elemental. The hero did not understand any of this, so he decided to ask his companion about the meaning of all these levels. The baby began to explain everything in the most accessible form. I started with the fact that living entities are a group of creatures that have consciousness, and those who have reached the peak of their development can violate the established rules of beings of the first order. She also wanted to tell him and show him everything in as much detail as possible. The story was about the first level dimension. This is the most basic level of life that is associated with science, technology, and other things important for existence. The form of the level of heaven's fate is the one that can destroy the first-order dimension in order to move to the second. Lulu then moved on to the second-order dimension. She explained that to some extent it can exist outside the space of the surrounding world. Liam listened carefully and concluded that in the second dimension, time is a hindrance. The form of the level of heaven's destiny is capable of destroying the second-order dimension to move to the third. As for the third-order dimension, it is a dimensional controller capable of creating lives or even dimensions. Lama became interested in what the supreme beings were like. Lulu readily answered that this is the true master of the universe, in fact the most powerful entity. The demon emperor used to think that he was strong enough, but it turned out that his strength was a drop in the ocean. He decided to ask Lulu about her external form and why it didn't change after the update. The baby explained that after the update, many more opportunities opened up for her. As for its appearance, its current form is already the highest degree of renewal and therefore has not changed. Liam was a little shocked by this development of his assistant. Lulu informed him that if he wants to break out of the control of his intellect, then at a minimum, he needs to reach the peak development of the karmic level. The demon emperor smiled and asked the little girl if he could trust her. Lulu, with her hand on her chest, claimed that only thanks to him she became an absolutely independent intellectual body with unlimited rights. Therefore, the little girl, with full eyes of admiration, asked the demon emperor to trust her. Liam took Lulu in his arms with a smile and said that from now on, she should stop calling him Big Brother or Master. He ordered to address him simply by his first name, because now they will be business partners. Lulu was embarrassed because it was the first time she heard kind words from him. Having completed his knowledge of the universe, the Demon Emperor urgently needed to restore order at home. So he cut his finger and sent a stream of demonic blood onto the floor to summon help. After this, he began to create some mysterious figures, calling them into his world. Shadows of warriors began to appear from the ground, as if through a magical portal. Due to the fact that his world had become a copy of the kingdom of the true God, and everyone was breaking in here for fun and profit, Liam decided to provide his people with more powerful security. The assistants were almost ready to complete the tasks. They just needed to correct some details. The Demon Emperor sent an energy stream towards them to give them shape and strength. And now, a moment later, the defenders stood in front of him, fully formed and ready to carry out their tasks. As a sign of respect for their lord, they immediately fell to their knees and greeted Liam. But the Demon Emperor had no time for these pleasantries. He ordered them to get up from their knees and listen to the order. The warriors obediently carried out his will. Lulu noticed that he created very strong warriors, who were in many ways superior to those who already existed. Liam said that this is the secret magic of the demonic race, and it requires a certain amount of life force during use. After this, the hero turned to his new warriors. He said that from now on, they must guard the territories of the demons, one of the 8 sides for each. He also ordered us to go to our posts right now. The warriors heard the order of their master and began to carry it out. In a split second, there was no trace of them in the throne room. Having finished this, Liam turned to his baby and said that they also needed to go. Lulu curiously asked where exactly they would go. In response, the Demon Emperor did not say anything, but simply walked towards that place with the little assistant following him with interest. Liam walked up to the wall and touched it, after which there was a powerful explosion. The wall hid behind itself a huge secret door, which was freely accessible after this explosion. The hero confidently opened the doors to show Lulu the secrets that were hidden behind them. This was the secret room of the Demon Emperor, in which there were some strange figures. The memories of demons from past dynasties were collected here. But there was something else, something for which they came here. This secret chamber contains all the power of the emperors of previous generations. After the ruler died, his energy was stored here. Liam told Lulu that if the current ruler needs a quick improvement in his characteristics, he must pass the test. This test of the Demon Emperor involves defeating all the emperors consecutively in one go. It is also important to consider that the later this test is taken, the more difficult it will be. Liam's teacher, for example, couldn't pass it. Our hero, looking at the altar of his predecessors, promised to do everything possible to pass this test with dignity. Demon follower Liam bowed and paid tribute to his ancestors. After this, all the figures of the emperors began to tremble, as if they had come to life. A loud voice was heard throughout the room, announcing the beginning of the test. He said that Liam has 10 lives, and if he wastes them, he will die. Warning of the risks, the voice asked if the Demon Emperor was ready for this. The hero loudly and confidently replied that he was ready to start and would not back down. The figures from the altar instantly rose from their places to merge into one energy clot. They united and began to create a special space for testing. Liam was surprised that in such a small room they were able to create their own space for competition. After this, the energy of the ancestors reincarnated into one warrior, or rather a faceless silhouette. The shadow, without words or hints, immediately launched an attack, directing a stream of energy from all previous rulers towards Liam. The hero put his hand forward, thereby being able to hold the blow and provide decent resistance. He even for a moment doubted the strength of his ancestors because the attack was weak. But the test continued, and the shadow began to move on to more powerful techniques. The ancestral shadow tried to hit the Demon Emperor, but he dodged. She then proceeded to summon weapons, which were quite powerful. Liam froze in anticipation. He tried to understand what exactly his ancestors were calling for. But then he realized that a demonic sword was being used, and this made him tense, because he knew very well the advantages of this weapon in battle. The shadow of the ancestors, grabbing its infernal sword, instantly rushed to the attack, using all its energy flows. The Demon Emperor decided to wait for the enemy to get closer so he could react more accurately. As soon as the shadow began to slash at its sword, Liam began to deftly dodge. He walked around the enemy at breakneck speed so that the shadow barely had time to react. Liam tried to strike first, but the shadow of the ancestors instantly reacted and deflected his blow. She then just as quickly counterattacked, punching the Demon Emperor in the chest. She wanted to attack Liam with his own sword, but he was able to quickly react and take his sword back. Moreover, the hero also managed to take the demonic sword from the shadow. He grabbed him and with a powerful throw sent him into the shadow of his ancestors. The enemy's weapon shone in flight from the force of the throw, and Liam himself took on his demonic face for greater success. Lulu admired him, and Liam himself did not expect such incredible power from himself and the sword. The sword successfully flew to its owner and cut him into many pieces, accompanied by a huge amount of demonic energy. This meant only one thing. The shadow of the ancestors was broken, so it evaporated, shining brightly. Another one appeared after her, but she did not intend to engage in battle, but came to congratulate Liam on his victory. Day extended her hand upward and summoned some very important and valuable thing among the family of demons. The shadow also ordered to listen to her order very carefully. The hero obediently accepted the will of the shadow of his predecessors and listened. She began by saying that Liam, the ruler of the 29th generation, had successfully passed the test of the Demon Emperor. This valuable thing was an ancient book that approached the Demon Emperor and began to shine, granting him the wisdom and strength of the entire demonic race. The shadow continued to say that the demon emperors who had gone through dynasties recognized Liam as capable of becoming the new ruler. They also hoped that he can lead the demon race and make it great. After these words, a powerful energy stream burst out from the hands of the shadow and rushed to the heavens. This stream descended on Liam, tightly enveloping him for teleportation to another space. He was transported to the inner space, where the sword of the Demon Emperor was reunited with the book. Thus, the identity of the second owner of the Demon Emperor book was confirmed. That's what the shadow said, and the hero asked if he was really the second owner, because he had never heard of the first one. As soon as he asked his question, another mysterious shadow appeared from the book. But this time, the shadow transformed into the first-generation Emperor Gregor, who greeted the second owner of the book with a smile. Liam had no idea who was standing in front of him, so he asked him to introduce himself for clarity. Gregor gave his name and said that he was the first owner of the Book of the Demon Emperor. He also added that he essentially created this book and is also the original demon in the entire world. Liam was shocked that the oldest ancestor of the demon race was standing in front of him. Gregor understood his emotions, so he responded to them with a smile. He said that the demon blood in Liam's veins was pure and similar to his. That was why he was able to obtain the Demon Emperor's book. Gregor shrugged and said that in tens of thousands of years only our hero managed to inherit this thing, and he was very bored here. Therefore, the original demon willingly called Liam over for a friendly conversation about changes in the world. The Demon Emperor sat down opposite his ancestor and began to talk about all the hardships of current times. Gregor's eyes nearly fell out from such changes. He was surprised at how cruelly his race was subjected to abuse. He was very interested in hearing about people who showed their essence in all its glory. But Liam saw nothing interesting in this, only disasters and troubles. Gregor was pleased with the reaction of the current Demon Emperor because he has the purest demon blood flowing in him and should be happy. He also asked Liam to take out his sutra and let him take a closer look at it. The hero calmly complied with his request and without a second thought took out the Demon Emperor Sutra. With a deft movement of his hand, Gregor pulled the sutra towards him. He was furious that Liam was using her and had high hopes for her. The Demon Emperor didn't understand at all why his ancestor was so angry after all. This is the ancestral heritage. Gregor yelled that the mourning of the Demon Emperor is just old stuff and garbage that no one in their right mind would use. In order to somehow justify his words, the original demon took out scrolls. He explained that each scroll describes exactly how a certain stage of cultivation is carried out. The second one is called Liberating the Demon Emperor, and the third most powerful one is called the Path of the Demon. As for the Demon Emperor Sutra, it is just a combination of the basic elements of the 3 cultivation methods. In short, it can be called a beginner's instruction. It was hard for Liam to believe this, because this sutra saved him many times in fights with powerful opponents, even defeating the gods. Gregor praised the hero for being able to handle the sutra so skillfully. The original demon recognized Liam as strong, not like him, of course, but definitely not bad. Lulu heard how Gregor did not forget to exalt himself during compliments and told the hero that she considered this guy arrogant and narcissistic. But Gregor heard her words. He lost his temper and told the little girl to shut up and think about who she was talking to. Lulu was shocked. She asked if he was even addressing her. The original demon replied that, except for her, there are no more little girls here, unfortunately. Liam asked if Gregor could see Lulu. The original demon replied that he could, but did not understand what was wrong with this and why he was asking. The hero and his little companion looked at each other and did not understand what was happening, because no one except the carrier was allowed to see his system assistant. Liam began to explain that Lulu is not entirely human and, to be honest, not even a living creature. Gregor said that this was all wonderful, but he did not understand a word and demanded more details. Hearing them, he was amazed at how huge the world was. He would like to live longer and see the modern world with Liam. But nevertheless, he was able to see such an amazing young man who managed to inherit the book of the Demon Emperor, so Gregor did not regret anything. He put his hands on Lamu's shoulders and said that he had high hopes for him. Gregor said that while the Demon Emperor was here, he should study the book he wrote. The original demon promised to watch him from the side and help if necessary. Thus, Liam's powers will increase in the shortest possible time. The hero found this to be a wonderful help and was glad that his ancestor cared so much about him. Taking the lotus position, Liam began to absorb new knowledge, delving into the smallest details. Meanwhile, in the system world, there was talk about the heavenly crown, which had already been opened, and the demon emperor should be gotten rid of as soon as possible. Suddenly, among the council, a portal began to open, through which their system master appeared. Everyone who was present at the council bowed and began to get nervous. He menacingly asked about the reliability of rumors regarding the discovery of the heavenly crown. Morris bowed and replied that these were forced measures and this had never happened before. The Lord listened to this and gave orders to the system council to hurry up and destroy the threat. He disappeared as quickly as he appeared, and while old Morris was answering, he was very nervous because he did not want to upset or anger the master. The alert device in his pocket vibrated. It said that the cloning of the Demon Emperor was successful, and the clone was now at level 200. Maurice ordered his colleagues to turn off copying of the Kingdom of the True Gods. They agreed with this. Meanwhile, in the heavenly martial realm of the Heavenly Sword faction, everyone rejoiced at the new update from the system, because a clone of the Demon Emperor had appeared. Everyone wanted his treasure and was ready to defeat this clone for their own benefit. Everyone was given a golden pass to a world where they could defeat the clone of the Demon Emperor. If previously the gates to the kingdom of the true God were opened once every 100,000 years and only a select few got there, now the system has given people the right to use them freely. The gates opened, and people indiscriminately rushed to catch their ray of glory and take away the vaunted rewards for the battle with the clone. Through the gate, they entered the world of demons and looked at everything around them with curiosity. One of the disciples of the martial sword faction noticed a strong creature and mistook it for the same clone of the 200th level Demon Emperor, so he began to attack it. Only he was mistaken. These were the defenders of whom the unique original ruler of the demons created. The demon protector set to work, because he was entrusted with the land belonging to the demonic race. He understood why Liam called them to this world and why they were ordered to defend the earth, because people still attacked. The demonic guard worked splendidly because they did not allow a single person to arrive from the gate. The most cunning and dexterous among the disciples of his sect was still able to get to the threshold of the palace of the Demon Emperor. There, the general defender was already waiting for him. The man became curious to fight him. The brazen treasure hunter attacked first and threw his blade at the demon, hoping to crush it in one fell swoop. The defender dissipated in the man's face because with one hand he was able to crush this blade. This puppet of the system could not even imagine the full power that these guardians of darkness possess. The demon, with a deft movement of his hand, took the life of an insolent man. He perfectly carried out the will of his ruler and did not allow the impostor to get into the palace. Inside the secret chamber of the Demon Emperor, Liam, even while absorbing knowledge, could monitor the situation in his domain. But he wasn't particularly worried, because he knew that 8 powerful demon defenders should be enough to repel all the uninvited guests. Greca could not stop admiring his successor because in such a short time, Liam managed to master the true sutra. Lulu also watched the training process and was proud of this wonderful leader of the demonic race. The original demon was happy that Liam was able to master the Demon Emperor Sutra completely. But the hero himself understood perfectly well that the sutra was only a tiny part of what he still had to learn. Gregor encouraged him in every possible way. He said that a lot of work has already been done. You just need to practice hard and increase the level of cultivation. He also suggested practicing using new skills right now. The original demon first took on its basic form. This is also called demonization. Liam understood the essence of the matter and also demonized his body in order to continue his training. Gregor concentrated and performed some strange technique inside his body. He said that this was the first form of liberation of the Demon Emperor and was all boiling. The hero analyzed this technique and realized that compared to his demonic state, this technique is 10 times better. Gregor asked the young man to watch him carefully, because now he will activate the second form of liberation. After his words, the body of the original demon began to shine like a hot comet. He explained that this demonic state awakens the blood of the ancestors in their bodies, allowing them to increase speed and strength over a period of time. But the release of the Demon Emperor allows the blood in the veins to boil and begin to interact with the sutra to reach a new level. The first form can greatly increase strength and stamina, while the second transforms blood into weapons or protective armor. It can be said that only the second form is considered as the liberation of the true Demon Emperor. Gregor said that after the release of the second form, the third also appears. Liam was amazed that it didn't end there. The original demon honestly admitted that he himself had not reached the third one and did not know much about it. But he gave up on this because he believed that if Liam had not even been trained in the first form, then he did not need to know about the third. Before he could finish speaking, an incredibly strong stream of energy flew over his head. It was our Liam who was learning new skills. He himself did not expect that he would be able to have such a powerful force. Gregor was in a state of shock because he did not expect such speed in learning from the young Demon Emperor. Having mastered the first form, the hero decided to master the second at once. When Liam activated his second form, he expected his body to be completely covered in scales like Gregor's, but only his hands were covered. The original demon was mentally surprised by Liam's abilities because despite the fact that he only has scales on his hands, the strength in them is no less than in his entire body. But Gregor did not show it in order to seem even more literate in these matters. He said that for the first time, this was a pretty good result. Liam argued that he should hurry up and practice more to be like Gregor and have scales all over his body. He asked the original demon how to achieve such success. He, in turn, decided to clearly show and tell everything, so he activated his demon energy flows. He said that walking along the road of demons is the most powerful technique that allows you to absorb the enemy's energy, turning it against him. And the more demons there are in a clan, the more powerful the power that this technique can have. Liam listened carefully and was pleasantly surprised by the existence of such technology. But Gregor said that this is much more than just technology. After all, with its help you can not only use the power of demons for your needs, but also receive unlimited vitality. In other words, as long as the demon race exists, Liam will live. The hero asked, since this technique has such power, then why Gregor himself lost his body and now exists only in this world? But the original demon asked not to disturb the past and to think better about the possibilities that may now be within his control. After all, if Liam masters the passage along the road of demons, then even the heavens will bow to him. A month later, the defenders continued to defend their lands and remove intruders. Emma talked with one of them and noticed that during this month they managed to repel dozens of waves of invaders. The guardian demon agreed that the number of people had increased and so had their strength. 2 more people who wanted to hunt for treasure approached the treasured gates to the world of demons. Only these were already much stronger than the previous ones. The young disciple did not understand why everyone was so afraid to fight these clones of the Demon Emperor. He assured that it was easy to destroy this demonic spawn with one hand and without blinking an eye. His teacher called Chuck an arrogant boy because he has been prone to excessive self-confidence since childhood. He also said that the enemy should not be underestimated because this is a sign of frivolity. Chuck was determined that the teacher looked down on him, and he really wanted to prove that he was right now. This was not the first attempt to fly up in the eyes of the teacher, so he only quietly said out loud that he had to do it again. Emma and the guard heard his words and realized that imposters had arrived again. The demon defender said that he would gladly deal with those who came to certain death. Chuck, with a cold and calm look, just snapped his fingers. After this, the demonic guard was overtaken by an energy column that pierced his body. The young man arrogantly turned to his teacher to hear words of praise, but the old man remained silent and smiled. Standing in Chuck's way was Emma, who did nothing, as if she was waiting for something. While he confidently walked past her, heading towards the Emperor's palace, that same demon guard appeared and hit the young man in the face with all his might. The blow was powerful and unexpected, so Chuck flew away a fair distance. The guard laughed loudly. He was amused that people underestimated him and then suffered. Chuck didn't expect to be wounded so quickly, so he frantically tried to accept the cruel reality. He shouted that no one dared even breathe in his direction without a reason, let alone hit him. And the teacher, as always, insisted that arrogance will play a cruel joke on the guy sooner or later. Liam has been practicing new skills all this time and was surprised at how difficult it all turns out to be. After all, he spent a month studying, but only mastered a small part. The heroes did not see anything surprising in this, because if the demonic path had been easy, it would not have made him so weak. Lulu suddenly sensed the approach of a high-level life form and immediately warned Liam about it. The hero was happy about this news because there was a reason to test his new capabilities. He immediately took out his Demon Emperor sword and headed towards the exit. But Lulu said that in addition to the Fate-level life form, there is also a Law-level carrier. The Demon Emperor had never encountered Law-level life forms before. In any case, he liked it for him, because he would be able to compare strengths and practice new techniques. Chuck and the teacher and Emma and the guard stood at the gates of the Demon Emperor's palace. Chuck suddenly sensed that the Demon Emperor himself would soon arrive. And as soon as he said this, Liam appeared in front of the gate and headed towards the guests. The teacher warned Chuck that this Demon Emperor is very strong and he needs to be on his guard, forgetting about his arrogance. The young student took the mentor's words into account, but it seems that he decided to act purely according to his own convictions. Emma, seeing her ruler, decided to share with him the information about people she received this month. But Liam told her to put off the report, because he was already impatient to apply his new knowledge in action. The Demon Emperor approached the enemy closely. Chuck looked at him with a grin and already saw himself as a winner. But this moment of glory remained only in his fantasy, because Liam, without further ado, hit the impudent young man in the face. The poor fellow was decorated for the second time today, so he cursed these demons with all the appropriate words. While Chuck was trying to understand why the world was so unfair, the Demon Emperor continued to attack him. And although the young student managed to evade, Liam still felt his weakness. The old teacher admitted that the copies were true to the original, because the Demon Emperor was terrifyingly powerful. Liam said that Chuck has the opportunity to leave and save his life before it's too late. The student took this as an insult, so he loudly declared that he would never back down. He used an illusory technique and created a huge golden bell imbued with energy. Chuck threw this bell at Liam with pathos, hoping that it could kill him. The Demon Emperor didn't even move. He simply swung his sword a couple of times, sending his demonic energy towards the bell. And Chuck's hopes for victory were shattered into pieces, just like that unfortunate bell. This was the most powerful technique of the student, so the old teacher decided to join the battle. But before he could finish speaking, the wrath of the Demon Emperor immediately fell upon him, who did not care who he destroyed. Liam approached the teacher of the human race with lightning speed and dealt him a powerful blow to the chest. Grandpa had a great time and spent some time coming to his senses, rubbing his sore spots. The hero asked Lulu if all life forms at the level of laws are so weak. The baby thought, because it shouldn't be like this. Usually such life forms are quite powerful. When the old master recovered, he decided to show the Demon Emperor what he was really capable of. Liam said he didn't see the point in it, but would take a look out of curiosity. The teacher began to build an energy barrier that looked like a honeycomb. He said that he personally created this technique to kill demons and is proud of it. The Demon Emperor grinned and asked to demonstrate this vaunted technique to him. After that, he moved on to demonization in order to finally test himself. Liam decided not to wait for the enemy to attack and took the initiative, approaching the barrier. But it was not possible to break through it. no matter how hard the hero hit it. The Demon Emperor made a couple more attempts and realized that he should move to a new level. After all, the fists with which he hit the energy dome were already boiling. The hero remembered what Gregor taught him, the second form of releasing the power that makes the blood boil and work against the enemy. The old master arrogantly declared that today, the Demon Emperor would end his miserable life in the face of his strength. Liam said that it would definitely not be today, and full of excitement, went to practice a new technique. The Demon Emperor's fist was blazing with hellfire and was ready to pierce anyone in its path. The old master stood and chuckled, but Liam managed to break through the barrier with his fist and hit his opponent. Grandpa was horrified, but it seems that arrogance played a cruel joke not only on his student, but also on himself. After all, the enemy cannot be underestimated, and he did it. Liam was not going to leave him alone, so he struck one after another. Even when the old master was carried away from the blow, the hero caught up with him and continued to attack. Like an angel of death, he pursued him and made him regret everything he had done before. When the master was completely weakened, Liam sealed him with a signature blow to the ground. With the last of his strength, the old man asked how this happened in the first place and why he lost. The Demon Emperor instructively extended his finger and said that those who are weaker lose, and there is nothing complicated about it. And in the end, Liam decided to finally get rid of the enemy, so the final blow destroyed the old master, leaving no trace of him. The hero knew that he had dealt with one, but the second was still alive and could not be released. Chuck saw that his teacher was killed and realized that he urgently needed to leave here. He pulled out his teleportation pass home and tried to escape unnoticed. Liam realized that the guy was trying to escape, so he threw a powerful energy stream after him. His power was so great that it tore into pieces not only Chuck, but also the rock that was nearby. The portal that Chuck managed to open also came under attack and suffered from Liam's blow. The hero and his little assistant were transported to a strange place, and he asked her where exactly they ended up. Lulu suggested that the door of space that connected the two worlds had broken. This led to the formation of a crack in space and time. The hero wanted to take a risk and try to enter this broken portal to return home. But Lulu said that the gates of time and space were destroyed, and cosmic turbulence reigned inside. With Liam's current cultivation, it will be difficult to survive there. When suddenly the Demon Emperor noticed that someone was watching him and seemed to be hiding. Time seemed to have stopped, and everything around was suspiciously quiet. Liam loudly ordered the one who was hiding to show up immediately. In response to his request, some huge clot of energy appeared, which glowed with power. The hero asked who he was and what he wanted. This phenomenon spoke and said that it was the power of the heavenly path. This did not mean anything to the young emperor at all. The clot decided to clarify what the power of the heavenly path is only in this world. Liam decided to check if this was someone's trick, so he took out his ancestral demonic sword. He struck this clot with all his strength with his sword to make sure that it was not an illusion of cunning people or systems. But after the impact, nothing happened to the clot, so Liam slowly began to believe it. The power of the heavenly path said that she does not have much time, so she hopes that the Demon Emperor will remember her words. After this, the power of the heavenly path gave the ruler of the demons a golden pass to other worlds. This was the key that opened the door to other spaces. With its help, you can directly enter the world of science and technology. After hearing information about the capabilities of Liam's key, things became much more interesting. For the second time, the clot of energy of the power of the heavenly path reminded about the limitation of his time and assured that his every word was worth remembering. He said that this key is disposable. After the first use, it will evaporate, having completed the task of transporting it to the world of science and technology. To destroy their world, you must reach the top level of laws. The clot also said that in order to achieve heights in cultivation in the shortest possible time, Liam should go to a space where the power of the heavenly path has spent 90% of its power. The power of the heavenly path handed the Demon Emperor a second key that could send him to this space. Liam understood that this would take a lot of time, and his lands and people were constantly being attacked by crazy people. He asked the power of the heavenly path who would protect the demon race while their leader was away. The clot replied that it had 10% of the power of the heavenly path, which could temporarily stop the attack in the demon territory. But this power would only be enough for 1 year of protection. The hero understood that this was very little because learning and practicing new abilities takes a lot of time. Therefore, he did not know whether he could cope with all this in a year. But the power of the heavenly path could not offer more, because this was all that was left. 10% will only last for a year and no more, so the hero will need to work harder. When suddenly the clot of energy ran out of time and it began to disappear, in the end he only asked Liam not to believe in scientific and technical life forms, even if they were creatures close to him. After these words, the clot completely disappeared. The Demon Emperor grabbed the second key, but did not fully know whether he could trust the information received. Lulu didn't hear or see who Liam was talking to, so she asked him what happened. The hero told his companion that a certain creature called itself the power of the heavenly path. He also told her that this creature had given him a token with which he could get into the scientific and technological dimension and destroy it with one blow. But for this, he needed to reach the peak level of laws. The little girl had never heard of the heavenly path, so she decided to find at least some information about it. She used all her capabilities to quickly and efficiently search for data, but she could not find out anything about the heavenly path. But Liam told her not to focus on this because he's still very far from the level of laws. He looked with disbelief at the golden tokens that this mysterious clot gave him and decided to clarify the information with his new mentor. The Demon Emperor returned to the inner space and asked Gregor what he thought about this. The original demon noticed that all this was becoming interesting, because he also did not really know about the power of the heavenly path. Lulu was worried about what the ball of energy said about the distrust of system representatives. But Liam reassured her. He said that he trusted her because she was different from other representatives of science and technology. Besides, they have been through a lot together. Now he was more worried about trust in the power of the heavenly path, because this unknown creature suddenly appeared and demanded absolute trust, knowing about all his plans. Lulu said that this clot can be trusted, because it is definitely not a technological life form, and she felt a disruption in communication with other worlds. Gregor supported the baby's words and said that you should not miss the opportunity to become stronger. After hearing the opinions of two significant beings in his life, Liam was inspired, and his desire to become stronger increased. Meanwhile, in the system world, Maurice was outraged that the power of the heavenly path located at the first level was able to seal the heavenly crown, and I asked how this was possible from all the system experts present. But they themselves did not understand how this was possible, so they silently looked at the old man and waited for any of his comments. Maurice suddenly wondered how strong Liam could become in a year of cultivation. One of the advisors suggested using a master to help them in this situation. But old man Maurice said that now we need to think first of all about how to break the power of the heavenly path. He also said that forcing a breakthrough would cause great damage to the system community, and the advisors were all confident that Liam would not be able to greatly excel in his abilities in a year. Suddenly, a notification window appeared above the meeting table, which they were all ready to start familiarizing themselves with. This was the current breakout line, which was currently only 1% loaded. After chatting with Gregor, Liam returned to his world, namely to such a room of the Demon Emperor. While he sighed heavily from worries, Lulu said that she had no idea what kind of world this heavenly path created. But there was no time for fantasy, so the hero activated the token and said that now they would personally check and find out everything. The dark portal was open and ready to be used, so Liam headed straight into it without hesitation. On the other side of the portal, the waves of some kind of sea were seething, and the portal itself was in the sky. The hero and his little companion entered and began to inspect the area. Liam was surprised that there were as many as 3 suns on this earth, blazing directly overhead. And Lulu noticed that this continent is on the 2nd level, and for some reason she was very happy about it. This information did not mean anything to the Demon Emperor, so he clarified what the difference was in these levels and why she was so happy. Lulu explained that this world was originally only level 1, but the power of the heavenly path strengthened it to level 2. Liam suggested not to waste time and look around this world. The baby was all for it because everything here was new for her. In order not to wander over the sea for a long time, the hero extended his hand forward and said that the path would be opened for them. The waves immediately parted and showed the newcomers where to go. Liam admitted to his companion that all these events had tired him out. Eventually, they found the shore and stepped onto the pier, heading towards the nearest settlement. Lulu noticed that there was a city ahead and it was probably worth going there. Liam was interested in learning more about this land, but for some reason, his instinct told him that this was not a good place. But there is no turning back. Since you have already arrived, you should press on ahead, avoiding any obstacles on your way. The system fairy decided to find something about this city, but her archives were empty. There was absolutely no information about the population. She began to analyze the new world. The current loading progress was 2%. Ahead, there was a crowd of some creatures that huddled together, and Liam decided to come closer to them. The public was shocked when they saw the foreigner. There was no one new here before, so they know every resident by sight. Plus, Liam didn't seem like a demon to them at all. The demon emperor went further and realized that he was in a market because there were a lot of people bustling around and there were a lot of different goods everywhere. Suddenly, some old man turned to the hero. He asked if Liam had come here to participate in the selection of the Immortal Cloud sect. The old man explained to the silent foreigner that people come here only for the sake of the Immortal Cloud. He looked Liam over and said he had a great future here. But the flattery of this merchant is just a trick for buyers. After all, he tried his best to sell his brochure with information about the gates in the sect to the Demon Emperor. He even said that thanks to this notebook, you can easily and without any problems choose the right door according to your skills. Liam realized that he was on an island where the main attraction is this sect. Even a market has formed here for everyone who wants to join it. The old man concluded from Liam's appearance that he belonged to the human race. But the hero shook his head negatively. Then the merchant began to list all the races known to him. He named orcs, dragons, ghosts, giants, and only at the very end he mentioned demons. When Liam stopped shaking his head at the last mention of demons, the old man deftly ruled that he was definitely a demon. And he immediately began to assure that in the Immortal Cloud sect, there are hundreds of demonic races, 3 of which are the most powerful. The trader gave quite a lot of information, so he began to negotiate the price because he saw the interest in the client's eyes. Grandfather said that he would easily give away the information brochure for just 10 gold coins. Liam weighed everything this sociable man said and decided that the offer was very tempting. When the hero took a brochure from the old man for review, a voice sounded that ordered everyone who wanted to join the Immortal Cloud sect to gather at the holy gates. As soon as the candidates for admission heard this, they immediately rushed in a crowd to the gates. Liam was also interested in watching the sect entry ceremony, so he quickly gave the old man 10 gold coins. And while reading the new brochure, I flew behind the crowd to watch all this action. Having read what was written, the hero realized that the level of cultivation in this world was very different from his own. After all, the demons here do not cultivate blood and body. They have a unique cultivation system. Therefore, the Demon Emperor didn't know how far he could go here. He arrived at the holy gates at the foot of the mountain and watched as many representatives of different races gathered for the ceremony. Lightning suddenly struck and a strange, bright light appeared. This meant the beginning of this event. After all, a man appeared before the candidates who said that each of them could choose their own gate to join them in accordance with their abilities. Our hero immediately noticed the incredible strength of this man who had just spoken. Lulu didn't see anything surprising in this because, after all, this was a second-level dimension in which 90% of the power of the heavenly path was embedded. Suddenly, one guy from the crowd, whose name was Tyler, drew attention to Liam. He instantly approached the hero and asked if he was a demon. The Demon Emperor didn't say a word, just silently waited for the guy to voice what he wanted. But this did not happen, because Tyler simply grabbed Liam's hand and said that he had finally found the Demon Brother. He also happily shouted that the hero should immediately join the 1,000 Demon Mountain. Tyler dragged a new friend, who was shocked by what was happening, to the registration table. He told the old man sitting there to register Liam as soon as possible. The tired demon at the registration desk muttered indignantly about how Tyler had been dragging people with low cultivation levels here all day, like they were trash to a bucket. The boy was indignant in response. He said that you can't immediately insult the candidates like that. What if Liam turns out to be a master? The demon registrar turned to the hero. He said that as soon as he entered the 10,000 demon sect, he would no longer be able to leave anywhere, and no objections would be accepted. Liam didn't even know what to answer him because he still had to leave in a year. But the registrar did not wait for an answer. He handed the young man a stone and ordered him to put his hand on it. The hero thought for too long, and Tyler could not restrain himself from the experience and put his hand on the stone. But as soon as Liam touched this stone, it immediately sparkled, and then everything fell into small pieces. The registrar and Tyler were in shock. They did not understand what happened and why the stone scattered. The boy, in bewilderment, asked the hero what he did with the stone and why he broke it. But Liam replied that he didn't do anything special. The stone was just too weak to appreciate his abilities. The registrar seethed with anger. He said that the stone must simply have been in bad condition, and Liam told him not to pretend to be a genius. Tyler asked the demon man what they should do now, and if they needed to retest the new recruit. The demon receptionist said that he did not feel strong demonic energy from him and called him complete trash. He also said that if he wanted to join the sect, then nothing but a lower level would get him, and he told Tyler to take him out of sight, otherwise he would be offended by the stone. Liam looked at this evil man with a grin because he had hidden his demonic energy in advance so no one could feel it. Tyler began to introduce the hero to the main mountains of their sect. There are 4 of them in total: the Heavenly Demon Mountain, which only elders have access to, the Earthly Demon Mountain, which includes the main disciples of the sect, lower down the hierarchy, the Lower Demon Mountain, and finally the Mortal Demon Mountain, which is the weakest. Liam confidently said that the Sky Demon Mountain was quite suitable for him to live in. Tyler thought it was a joke, because according to the distribution, Liam would live on the mountain of the Mortal Demon since he did not distinguish himself with talent. The hero asked the guy in all seriousness whether a deity could really live with mortals. It's insulting. Tyler looked at him as if he were crazy and could not understand what kind of deity he was even talking about. Lulu intervened in their conversation. She wanted to ask Liam something, but the question was awkward and she was embarrassed. The Demon Emperor was willing to listen to his companion, despite the nature of the question she was trying to ask. The little one, looking at him with big eyes, said that on the list of tasks, there is a mission to live on the mountain of mortal demons, and the reward for this is golden pills. She understood how Liam felt about all this, so she proactively began to tell him that this would help to find out the secret of the technological body. Lulu begged him not to be angry, but to agree, because it would help her update and provide him with more useful information. The baby assured that she was faithful to her older brother, the Savior, and had no evil intentions towards him. The Demon Emperor watched his companion's experiences with a smile. He said that she shouldn't worry. He thought over her proposal and said that he found it very appropriate, even immediately agreed to all the conditions. Having accepted the fact that they would have to live on the mountain with mortal demons, Liam and his new acquaintance arrived at Shijiang's fortress, which was shrouded in smoky clouds. They entered the room where carefree demons were lying around and minding their own business, and Tyler said that they had arrived at their destination. The inhabitants of the fortress looked at the newcomer and concluded that he was even more defective than them, which made them sad. Tyler said that from now on, Liam will be the youngest student of these demons, and showed with his hand where he should go. Next, our hero's new acquaintance decided to give the unrecognized Demon Emperor a tour of the fortress. It was a new day and a new place. Liam had a good night's sleep on his couch and was ready for his next move. As soon as he opened his eyes, Lulu already appeared in front of him with her congratulations. She said that the hero joined Shijiang Mountain and was rewarded with the foundation pill for this. The Demon Emperor did this not for the sake of a reward, but only so that Lulu could later be updated and obtain new information about the system world. So he told her to eat these magic pills herself. The little girl was flattered by such kindness from her older brother, so she ate the pill with tears in her eyes. The next task was to find the task board for the students of the sect and select the magic door item there. For completing this mission, a reward was expected in the form of a good luck pill. After some time, our hero went to the task list of the Magic Mountain and asked the students standing there what the tasks would be today. The students began to discuss Liam, because due to the fact that he hid his abilities, everyone considered him just a worthless recruit who arrived in the sect yesterday. But for a good-for-nothing, Liam was quite brave, which amazed them. Typically, recruits do not immediately undertake to search for assignments. Our hero took on a high-level mission. The crowd of other sect disciples were shocked. They decided that he simply had suicidal tendencies for signing up for this. The students were already betting in unison that this daredevil would not live to see tomorrow, and for some reason, the grief of their closest brother in the sect even invigorated them. But that's why they are demons. The demon emperor decided to familiarize himself with the task he had taken on. After all, everyone reacted so sharply that he himself became interested. But he was not at all impressed by the contents, because the essence of the task was to go to the mountains and collect magic stones there. The hero was clearly expecting something more, something like fighting a terrible beast. Suddenly, Dao and his team, which was considered the most powerful in battle on Mount Fanyuan, entered the crowd. At least that's what all the students said. It was even rumored that thanks to his achievements, this demon would soon be admitted to Xiaowan Mountain. Dao himself praised the brave recruit and said that he liked such guys. This alpaca demon with a big knife even said that if there was a need, he would gladly cover Liam with his sword in battle. Dao came closer to the hero and said that their tasks were similar, because he and his team would be heading to the mountains right now, and invited a recruit with him. The demon emperor looked at this demon in bewilderment. He did not understand why everyone here strives to start a conversation with him or make friends with him, like a magnet for the talkative and arrogant. But still, the offer was not bad, because Liam was poorly oriented in the area. And so it happened. They went together to the mountains covered with black clouds in search of magic stones. The team monitored the situation along the perimeter, and everyone reported to the leader that there were no dangers. Liam was silent all this time, and just watched the guys who were trying so hard. Suddenly, Dao noticed something unusual and told his sect brothers to be careful. It was a rubella rabbit demon who angrily jumped out of the bushes. And although the little one didn't seem particularly dangerous, Dao for some reason perceived him as a threat and ordered the team not to move while he dealt with this beast. The alpaca demon took out his huge knife and decided to give this rabbit a death trial, and he did it with a face like he was fighting a bloodthirsty dragon. This crazy man waved his knife left and right, but it must be said that he won this unequal battle. After crushing the rabbit, Dao said that this beast dared to be arrogant in front of him and therefore suffered punishment.